volume should be down, if not off. Hi, welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am often Chat Show. How are you? Just a second.
Yeah.
That's good schnapps. Mama told me not to come. She died. It is interview 122. How the fuck about that? They said we would not make it to 120.
They said we wouldn't make it to 1.
Yeah, wait. Well, welcome back to these particular proceedings. This is the first show of August, the last month in this particular summer, which seems to have flown by once again. What is it about summer that is like a fucking jet every
Did you
time?
say it's the last weekend of summer?
No, it's the first week of the last month of summer.
Very well. I'm not. I got shit.
By the
in my
way,
ears
none of
today.
that has any more sense than what you just said.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
but here we're lucky because we get summer through like October.
Yeah, it's gorgeous out
Yeah.
here
Oh,
until
that's right, it's Los
Thanksgiving.
Angeles. 72 degrees every day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, remember last year at Thanksgiving we were all on the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of suckers living in the rest of the country.
Right?
Yeah. And all we have is living in the constant fear that the earth could crumble under our feet at any minute.
How's that fear, though? I mean, that's earth surfing's fantastic. We had Henry Winkler at this table surfing with us 2 Easters ago. It was fantastic.
Well, that's fantastic.
First things first, this is day 14 for me, working 6-day weeks on this film, the second week, and then doing this show on Sunday, so it's 14 days in a row. And I just want to quote Danny Glover when I say I'm getting too old for this shit. Oh my. The filming is going great on Shay Upshaw. With the log line, dying is easy, ... There's a little clue for you. Yeah, a little bit. I do want to thank everyone who's been writing in and following along with the hashtag #FindMrTong. The man who owns the house is a 75-year-old wonderful Chinese man whose life story I hope to capture someday on film, because I find out more and more every day I go to work. He's fascinating. But he hangs around constantly while we're shooting. And it was pretty early on that Ileana Douglas, my co-star in the film, and I noticed that he's in our eye line. He's behind camera. He's in our eye line while we're doing scenes. How is this happening? And it will be way off in the background. Black Hawk not down.
I think it's just Harrison Ford going to the Santa Monica Airport.
Get off my fucking plane. So I started taking some photographs and I started tweeting them. First it was on set, just passed around, and I thought, no, this needs to be shared with the United States, if not the world. And now we have a few photos, I believe, to offer up. Are they loaded in sequential order? Does it matter? Does it happen? There's your first one. Now there's Ileana Douglas. And then we have our first AD, Jim, on the left, a couple of crew guys behind them, and then way the fuck in the background, as if a ghost under that fucking tree. Let's punch in. There he is on the left. That is, in fact, Mr. Tongue. And go back to the first one. Can you go back to the first one? There he is. You see now? So the theory is we're going to hear when we wrap, oh no, Mr. Tongue died 50 years ago. Yeah. Show me another one where we see what he actually looks like. There we go. There he is. Now, that was the first shot I took. He was in my fucking eye line. There's a camera, there's the actor I'm talking to, and then there's Mr. Tongue between the camera and the actor. In my eye line. Lunatic. Has no idea, and is just the sweetest. He picked some tomatoes from his garden and gave them to us, and didn't have the wherewithal to say they were horrible, but he was very sweet to pass them along.
He's in your eye line, and you missed the opportunity to go all Christian Bale on his ass?
Well,
Are you kidding?
Well.
Oh, good for you!
Jamie, your favorite moment? There was some good mashup fun to be had. So happy Mr. Tongue Day, and enjoy the hashtags as we have another week of shooting to pass those along to you. A hashtag #FindMrTong. We asked a couple of weeks ago, how are you watching / listening to us? Write us at contact@kevinpollakschatcher.com and let us know what the fuck is your particular ritual. Do you download? Are you Apple TV? Are you watching us live? Share your personal experiences with us, won't you? So that we can pass them on to the rest of the world. By that I mean the guy down the street. Sammy?
Yeah, buddy.
How are you?
I'm so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was almost a snafu where you almost didn't make it to the show today.
Almost.
You
but,
texted me in a potential panic.
It was a mild panic.
All right.
But it all worked itself out.
Okay.
And here I am.
So all is good. All
All
is
is
well.
good. Everything's great. Everything's great. Couldn't be better.
And what did you audition for this week? That
That
you'd
was
like-
a good one. This is a good one.
Yeah.
So I got the phone call
Uh-huh.
that they want to see you.
Funny how
for
it
this,
starts that way.
I'm not going to say the name of the show, but I'll just tell you what network it was on.
Okay.
Network called Disney XD. Not even the Disney Channel.
XD.
This is like the
This is-
MTV2 of the Disney
Is
network.
this their rocket?
No, this is their channel that's geared towards
5-year-olds.
boys,
Boys.
males.
They've narrowed the audience down
Yes.
to gender
and
and have dedicated a channel to them.
This
And
is
they-
where Phineas, you can find Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, all right.
and
Now you
another
got me.
show
Now you
that,
got me.
that I read for,
Not Phineas and Ferb.
not Phineas and Ferb,
All right, that
where
narrows it down to
they
two
asked me to
others.
come in and audition for a high school senior.
Let's remind the folks at home and around the world how old you are. Sam.
29 years
29.
young, this close to 30.
Yeah. You don't get a name like Lil Wolverine,
Wolverine.
from Doug Benson, and also audition for a senior in high school.
You know,
Doesn't seem possible.
It's been a great year for me.
I'll say.
But shockingly, I did not get it.
What?
But I did ask around whilst in the waiting room
Mm.
to try to get an idea of how embarrassing it was that I was in there. And most of the other gentlemen in the waiting room born in the mid-90s. So I felt real good about myself.
So you mean actual seniors in high school?
Actual seniors in high school
And you.
and me.
And Crispin Glover. Unmistakably. Why is he?
I think he got the part, probably.
Sam had to keep going and shaving. Like every
Every
couple
time
hours.
they made me wait 10 minutes, I had to shave again.
Shan,
Good thing I brought my
Shan, we
lady
have
pick.
another scene we'd like you to look at and go in the bathroom.
I'm going to need a few minutes.
I'm going to need 45 minutes for a proper shave.
But that was fun.
All right. Well,
Had a good time.
please let us know. Keep us updated. And Jamal, what have you since the week has passed?
I'm like I'm your housewife, is what I am. And I run your errands during the day while you're at work, and then I have dinner waiting.
Are you saying that?
That's my job.
Do you not like this arrangement? I don't
Are you
understand.
Are you saying you're not enjoying the 1950s? What is with this women's lib horse shit? Next thing you know, there's going to be a bonfire.
It keeps you full of meat
I
and
baked.
in dresses.
I am such a
You did
1950s
bake.
housewife because then I baked
Yeah.
for a bake sale that I dropped at my the Fraternal Order of Eagles, which I'm a member of.
The only thing that's missing, I think, are cocktails and barbiturates.
Oh, I drink every night.
Oh,
trust
that's right. Let's be clear. Mommy smells. I want to thank the fine folks at the Pita Pit there in the Hermosa Beach for shuffling on down. Our own intern, Adam, picked up a bag once again of some fabulous eats. If you're ever in the Hermosa Beach area or any Pita Pit around the globe, my favorite
There's many
my favorite one's
locations.
in North Korea, by the way. Then you would definitely want to check out the Pita Pit. Yeah. It doesn't actually come in a bag. You do. But please check out the fine folks there because they do feed us well.
But they have, but
yes?
I would go to North Korea if they would have like spicy pork bulgogi pitas.
Yeah,
I
you
would
would.
do it just for
In a heartbeat.
yes.
Never saw her again, Your Honor.
It'd be worth
And
it.
this hat, of course, as always, brought to you by the fine folks at Gurren Brothers. Check them out online and around the globe for a hat of your own damn choosing. They're terrific, and many of them are handmade. J-Mac is sporting a hat today that everyone thinks is a Gurren Brothers.
I asked.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a facsimile.
I could tell that it wasn't of the quality that Gurren
Could you?
Brothers has brought to your head.
Wow.
He buys his shit at Target.
Who could ask for more?
Shit.
Buys his shit.
I buy everything at Target.
I take it back. I have some fine products from them as well.
Sammy, I'm going to ask a question now that's on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Have you taken a dump at Target? Have you gone in and sat down for 20 minutes?
I have
at
taken a
Target?
dump at virtually every establishment I've ever been to. Let's be clear about that. If I'm in an area for more than 20 minutes,
Right.
I've dropped trout.
Right, I understand. Jamie, you had a trip with our own Dr. Chen to the Disneyland 2 weeks in a row. We haven't heard about either
know.
trip.
Because this is personal.
Nothing personal.
This is how
Nothing occurs. This time, even Jew Dave in tow.
Yes,
And there's
Gabby's
nothing
friend.
to report?
His name is David Love.
Well, I'll say. Of the famous Love family. From where? Philadelphia? Where's Jew Dave from? Any
Here.
idea?
Here,
Here.
Thousand Oaks.
All 1,000?
All 1,000.
Okay. He's from, I believe, 200 Oaks, but apparently he's been upgraded. So apparently there's nothing to be told there. All right, let's go right to Ask Kevin then. Fuck it. Why should we pretend that there's anything of import to discuss? This one, what? There's a graphic. This one from Bruno Santos. We've heard from Bruno on occasion. This time, if those of you at home, by the way, want to take over for Bruno Santos, write to us at contact@kevinpollakschatcho.com. Bruno writes, "Hi." You know what, Bruno? You've lost me already. There's a clip on Jerry Seinfeld's website. It's going to stay there for the day, entitled "Comedy is Tougher Than Life," where Merv Griffin says that his generation featured comedians that wouldn't hang out together. It's a short clip, 1 minute and some change, basically about the competition between stand-up professionals regarding their material. If you could share your experience on that, I'd very much appreciate it. Thanks, Bruno Santos. Bruno, as always, go fuck yourself. That is, by the way, those of you thinking about writing in at contact at Kevin Pollak's Chat Show, this is how it works. You write in, I read your letter, and then say go fuck yourself. No, in this case, I believe we have some videotape we can go to of said Jerry Seinfeld on Merv Griffin. I can't wait to leave it on the website and then hear from the Merv Griffin estate, who insists that we take it off.
There's no way this isn't covered under fair use.
Right?
There's no way.
All right. Roll that, please.
My generation, when I started out, comedians would never visit each other. Like, I look around, your whole group, I look in the back, just a minute ago, I saw Larry Miller back there, and
Kevin
Pollak, I can't see. Somebody else come in?
He's there, he's a little smaller.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you guys all move. Oh, look at their, took a picture, but they're dark, see?
Yeah. There they are.
Hey.
Well, you see how they're dressed. And look at how they're dressed. See how they're dressed?
Yeah.
I screw up one line, they're ready.
Oh, they would rush down the aisle and they would
Ready?
do their act.
They're hoping that I'm going to go, and they go, I'm ready. And he's got the paper, he's got the set, it's all written out, and they're ready to go. It's a vulture thing. That's what they are. They're just hoping.
See, in the old days, nobody would ever come to see another. And one comedian would never come to see another comedian. Because they would say, well, he stole my whole act. I saw him in the back of the theater. Yeah.
Well, you know what they
But
sit
you guys
back
hang
there.
out to each other.
They hang out, yeah, but we don't know what's going on in their heads.
But do you check jokes with each other? You say, hey, is this funny?
Yeah, and he'll say, it's great, it's great. And then they'll stand back there and they go, I knew that wouldn't work.
That's so depressing.
They say, in fact, I told him not to do it. He wouldn't listen to me. Look at him dying. Look at him sweating.
Oh!
Yeah.
Life is like that?
Comedy is like that.
Oh, the
Comedy is
fast
much
lanes.
tougher than life.
So there you go. Proof positive that Jerry Seinfeld at one point had friends. Here, what? That's weird.
It's terrible.
It really was terrible. I remember that so vividly, and first of all, I couldn't believe I was on the Merv Griffin show. That was so exciting.
Were you
And
on the
and
show,
then
or were you just near the show?
And then Merv had me on to perform 3 times in 6 months. He was an unbelievable supporter of stand-up comedy and then I was my only time in life spontaneously paneled. He walked over to shake my hand to say congratulations, and then walked me back to the couch where Alan King sat, saying, you know, kid, in 16 years we're going to do a Scorsese film together. And I said, you're weird, get away from me. No.
Alan King could see the future.
He would have been correct, but
He would have seen the future.
he didn't say that. I remember when Alan King had friends. What happened to the show? What's going on? I remember when I had friends is really what this is about.
Yeah.
I'm projecting. And the last Ask Kevin, I believe, from Dakota. Bovet. Hi, hey, Kevin. Since Albert Brooks is now on Twitter, would you be interested in reading some of his tweets in your Albert Brooks voice? I think we'd all get a kick out of that. Thanks, and get out of my face, Dakota Bovet from the British Columbia, Canada. Fuck yourself, too, and let's see if we can pull up a couple of tweets from Albert. Here we go. Heard a rumor that Obama's 50th, he's taking the super committee to Disneyland. And here's tweet number 2. I hated my last tweet. Not quite enough to delete it, of course, but enough to admit it. There you go. There's Albert Brooks reading 2 of his own tweets. And oh my God, there's one last Ask Kevin. This one from John Weinberg. Oh, that was from John Weinberg. Wait, I'm confused. Oh, this one's from John Weinberg. How many times does that get yelled at us at the airport? That's Jamie's favorite. Weinberg.
No, you get it a lot during your act.
From the audience. Hey, Weinberg!
Weinberg!
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that.
And what is it? I guess it'd be the team doctor. Is that a baseball term? Team doctor?
Sure.
No, the team medic. What's baseball? The team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Team physician. Yeah.
Team. Yeah. Weinberg for St. Louis. Insist that we're related. I said, you know, it's a fictitious character that I'm playing in the movie. It's not actually my name. Hey, Kevin, I recently stumbled upon your chat show, and over the past weeks have been vehemently listening to all of the old casts. In your interview with Hank Azaria, you say, yeah, I've got a team of monkeys working around the clock, in reference to Hank being impressed that you knew so much about him. At the time, did you realize that this was your, in parentheses, outstanding line in the beginning of The Usual Suspects? Also, is there a chat show where you discuss the movie, one of my all-time faves? Either way, I think you, Sam, and Jamie are great, and you have been helping me get through the workday. Keep up the great work. Thanks, John Weinberg. John, you're missing an H from your name, by the way. Yeah, you're not buffering. You're not buffering. No, I'm just fucking with you. John, first of all, did I realize that that was a line from The Usual Suspects? You can't be that stupid, John. Yes. Yes, I did, of course. And did I ever discuss The Usual Suspects on the show? Well, perhaps when I had the young punk with an Oscar, Christopher McQuarrie, who wrote the damn movie, as a guest on the show. Go through the archives. Do your fucking research, John. What kind of question is this?
I'm more concerned with the fact that John apparently listens or watches our show during his workday.
You don't approve of that?
So there's, what, 2.5 hours that he's not doing anything.
Right.
His bosses are essentially paying him to sit back and watch us
with a key
shoot
in
our
his
mouths
hand,
off.
with a key in his hand, looking at a picture of the silo in Wyoming.
Right.
Should I put the key in? Should I turn it? Wait.
Right.
Hank Azaria's on the chat show.
If he laughs a little too hard, that key might turn on its own.
There goes Moscow.
There, and it's all over.
Yeah. Oh, man.
John, get your shit together.
Weinberg.
Weinberg. Get your head in the game, man.
Yeah. You're fired.
This coming from all people that have never had like office jobs.
Never had an actual
And that
job.
don't sit
I
at
worked in a
desk
dental
all day.
office once.
For your dad.
That's right.
Yeah. I also want to re-announce that the Herky Jerky fix, don't forget, now that we're on HD, if you have a certain Mac Pro, apparently, from the Apple Cox, you can't watch the show stream live because it's Herky Jerky. We have an easy 50-second fix for you. Just go to our website, kevinpollexchalcher.com, and it's right there on the homepage. Clickable link that explains how to fix that Herky Jerky problem for the HD. Yay, HD. Now I age right in front of your face. Thank you, HD. I believe that be it. Yeah. Well, fuck, Larry King game. We have a winner this week? Shit. I hate giving out T-shirts for free. It's fucking bullshit. All right, this week's winner, God bless you and congratulations, Kevin Norby. I say that, of course, because I don't believe in God. Dear Chat Show, first let me say, love the show, hate the Jew jokes. What? What?
The fuck?
He writes, really? It's been thousands of years and nothing has changed. As in, the Jews are still complaining? Let it go. I'm Lutheran, period.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I didn't even want to hear this guy's Larry King game.
What's happening?
What the fuck?
Is that even a religion?
We couldn't love Jews more here.
Hey, Lutheran, it's all we have.
Yeah. Unlike the Lutheran who have, help me. What do they have?
Some people convert to Judaism just for the jokes.
Oh,
Tim Watley?
nice.
Tim Watley.
Nice. Is that somebody's line?
Well, it's
It's
from
from
Seinfeld.
Fuck. I was about to.
And it was Cranston, right?
Build you.
Yeah, it was
that was
Cranston.
Bryan Cranston, former guest. Okay, let me continue here. I'm Lutheran. You don't see me complaining. Oh my God.
What does a Lutheran have to complain about? Really?
Write into us and let us know. Oh, sure, I may post a note on a door from time to time, but come on. Oh, that's a Lutheran joke. See, that's why there are thousands of years of Jew jokes and no years of Lutheran jokes.
What's funny about But the thing on a door.
No.
Come on.
Seriously, huge fan of the Pollock, love the movies, love the stand-up even more. So when will we experience the ultimate in Pollock podcast world? Of course, I'm referring to guests like Alan, Jack, Christopher, or dare I even suggest little Billy Shatner. Well, not little so much, since he blew up like a poisoned dog a couple of years ago. Come on, get on the ball, he says. You missed having Falk. Don't miss the once-in-a-lifetime scenario of the court jester hosting and interviewing the royalty. What is this guy? What makes this the guy think that I would read his fucking letter online? Don't! Yours, etc., Kevin Norby. P.S. Larry King game entry. Finally.
BS? It
by
came as
the
a
way,
postscript.
I'm going to read your Larry King game.
You know what I'm sending him? I'm sending him like the baby doll size,
And then
smallest
the baby
t-shirt
doll
we
size
have, and
t-shirt
so he can put it on his dog or
that
something.
you can put on your thigh.
Yeah.
Fuckface, because I'm guessing you're weighing in that a thigh-worthy baby doll.
I'm going to toss in some dreidels.
All right?
Yeah.
And 6 dreidels from
Ooh,
Sam.
Six
I
dreidels.
put in my plague puppets. My tip.
No, he's not getting to play. All right, here's this Larry King game. Just to help our guest today also prepare for the Larry King game. We want a bad Larry King impression. Our guest today actually has a great one, so that's not going to help. And then it's Larry sharing something live that no one wants to know about Larry. And then he goes to the phones. Here's today's guest, today's winner, Mr. Norby. We're back. During the break, I was chatting with my guest, Lindsay Lohan. I was reminded of an old friend of mine, Dean Martin, at the time on the set of Rio Bravo with the Duke, Dino, Walter Brennan, and a very young Angie Dickinson. Each day after shooting, we'd all go back to Dino's trailer, get hammered, and Brennan would show everyone why John Ford decided to call his character Stumpy. We go to the phones, Big Beaver Lick, Kentucky. Go ahead. All right, there's your winner this week. And by the way, if you would like to offer up some Lutheran jokes so that we could have any idea whatsoever what a Lutheran joke might go like, write to contact kevinpolitshow.com. And so, I can put it off no longer. 2003, I'm working on a film that, thank both of you for seeing, called The Whole 10 Yards. Sitting in the makeup chair every morning for 3.5 fucking hours while prosthetics are applied to my face to turn me into an 80-year-old Hungarian mobster named Laszlo Gogolak, who talked like this, which was a tribute to Bill Hickey. After complaining about the music that was being played in the trailer every morning, the brilliant man aging me 40 years, Wesley Wolford, because that's a name, asked, have you ever heard Phil Hendrie? And my mornings were never the same. How Wesley set me up, though, was pretty fucking great to listen for the first time. He basically said, there's this guy, it's talk radio. I said, I'm not really into talk radio. The people who call in are assholes. And he said, yeah, give this guy a chance. And then he played a CD where Phil Hendrie, the host, was interviewing, I believe, a African-American pastor of some sort. And then the pastor went off on a rant about something that seemed offensive to everyone, to anyone. Even Hitler said, wrong. And then people started calling in and yelling at the pastor, and Phil seemed outraged. And I was laughing at how the pastor just would not shut up. He was only fueled by the anger of the caller, and I thought, this is pretty fucking great, but I feel like I'm missing something. And then Wesley said, let me tell you what's actually going on here. Phil is the pastor also. And I said, yeah, fuck you, that's not possible. And he played it again, and then my brain broke because I didn't see how it was mathematically possible. For his millions of fans the world over, he has simply put one of the most original comedic minds and voices of the last century. I'm not exaggerating. For the rest of you, I'll let him explain just what the fuck he does and how the fuck he does it, and has been doing it for over 20 years. Please welcome the great Phil Hendrie to this.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, blew my mind and broke it into pieces that I'll never find. Because I did, as some people get to, hear it the first time without being in on it.
Yeah.
And so, my first question was, for you, we'll get to how it started, but once you started doing this kind of show, to a great many listeners, it's your average call-in AM talk radio show with a host and a guest, and the guest says something outrageous, and people call in and complain. How were you initially tracking people like Wesley, who turned me on to it, who were so-called, quote-unquote, in on the joke? Because the numbers that come into the radio station is everyone, however the fuck those numbers are gathered.
Well, what you're dealing with is two separate kinds of people. There's listeners, there's callers. Callers have nothing to do with listeners. They have nothing whatsoever to do with the average listener. You know, my father, when he was alive, I said, Dad, he listened to the radio all the time. Listened to it in the car, listened to everything. I said, would you ever call a radio station? And my father's like, what, are you crazy?
Yeah.
I'd make an ass of my, what are you talking about, call in? Like these people are doing, I would never do anything like that, you know.
Right.
Never write a letter, nothing. So you learn that most of the people are listeners, and that's who you want.
Right.
And that's who you're playing to, and that's who understands, like yourself, like Wesley, what I'm doing. Now, some people get turned on to it the way you did. Some people, like, I get people saying, you know, it took me 6 months, but I finally figured out what you were doing.
Wow, those people are idiots.
Yeah, well, I was scared to talk to them. You know, just 6 months, huh? Yeah. And they were coming up to me like, this is a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
6 months, about a year, 2 years, and I got it. And I'm like, boy, I don't want to know you, man. I just shook his hand, you know. There could be some kind of, he's emitting some moisture, and it's getting into my pores. And those are those people. And then, of course, there's a lot of them who were the people that wanted me fired. They wanted me investigated by the FCC. They wanted me to lose my right to earn a living. And then 3 months later, I get it now. That's great. You know, and those are the people you can never really befriend because you saw their real side already.
Yeah.
They're vicious and they wanted to hurt me. And, you know, and they're also the ones who, when you do change something about the show, they're the Kathy Bates that want to break your leg. You know?
Yeah.
So, those are real active people. The people we're interested in are the people you never hear from. Those listeners of 95, 96% are never calling. So when you see the numbers, and my first good book at KFI, for instance, was in the summer of '97, where we went through the roof in men, and we went through the roof in adults, and we were doing things like beating the Dodgers, and you realize this is the people. These are the people that get it. You know.
Right.
And the ones that don't get it, you got to deal with them, man, because they're active and they're always calling and they're always writing you letters and they're always, you know, what did you change that one? Then go back to what you used to do. You know, do something different. Try this.
Right.
You know, try that. And I never quite trust any of those people. And my philosophy is, and I hate to say this, but callers are the bottom of the barrel. You know, I mean, in other words, I do the show for myself, then I do it for my bosses, then I'm doing it for my listeners, and the caller is just.
But you're also relying on the caller.
Yeah, but I gotta once I get that caller, I have to use him the way I need to use him.
Right.
You know, he doesn't know what's going on, or she, and I've got to get as much as I can out of them. And there's all kinds of treacherous things you have to negotiate. Callers want to control the dialogue. They want to. One of the worst things that can happen is they're asking questions. You don't want them to ask questions. They got to make a point. Can I say something? You know. And like Pastor Rennick, he was like, and another thing, you know, I got this voice from Hosea Williams, who's a preacher in Atlanta, just all the things that I tell my people, you know, Phil, I love you very much, you know, because I don't have a problem with white, black, doesn't matter to me. Well, and another thing, you know how those cats will just jump right on you.
Yeah.
Well, Pastor, and he said to me, they know women out there, you know, whatever. And so now come the people, and they're, and lady, I want to tell you, can I say something, please? I'm the caller. I'm the caller. And the guy's like, you know, I'm a guest, okay? That makes me better than you. I got invited on the show, you know. And that, you can do that, you know. The best callers, I hate to say that, the very best callers in terms of emotion, they won't take any shit.
Right.
But there are elderly black women. Are fantastic.
Why?
You can't overtalk me. I do anything I want. I go anywhere I want. No way. Now sister, don't you sister me. You know, so you know that white man. I'm a John McCain fan. I don't go down. I don't mess with that. Just because he's Barack Obama, half white. You know. Now, how dare you say something like that? So it's so much fun to do a character like that because A, you really got the caller hooked.
Yes.
B, man, you are into full caricature because he's a cartoon.
Yes.
And if you get cats to buy a cartoon,
oh yeah,
oh my God, you're in heaven, you know. But It's not often. And so generally when I have Pastor Rennick on, he's just talking to me.
Right.
You know, Phil, I'll tell you something.
But there's a seventh layer of Spock chess going on at times.
Yeah.
Where you end up being one of the callers as well.
Yeah.
And then that's where
holy goodbye.
Fuck.
I did that once. One that comes to mind was I have a character named Jay Sanders. He's this is auxiliary police, you know, and this, you know, these guys, these self-appointed guys, you know. And it was during the DC sniper thing, and they said they saw a white van. So we will be in Washington D.C. film. I'll let all, you know, people or whatever you want to call them, you know, whatever you want to call them, my listeners, you know. Yeah, I'm sorry, you know, I just don't. And tell them we'll be in D.C. We're going to belt sand the paint. Okay, so now a guy calls and says, "You touched my car," and the guy's great. He's a veteran. You know, you love the vets. Let me tell you something. I fought for this country, okay, young man. And if you touch my, so then I thought this would be great. I got Jay going. Well, let me tell you something. So we got the DC sniper, and I don't know if you want that worries you or not. I know you're a veteran and everything, but scares some people. And okay, we have another gentleman. So then I bring on Lloyd,
right,
who's also. And I heard, you buddy, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. But then he goes further. You know what we used to do with guys like you? Got a little grease you up over in the back of the. We're talking about anal rape now, you know. Suddenly the other cat's like, no, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No. Well, you know what I mean. You know, wink, wink. No, I don't. So so that's. But that will happen. And it always happens when the news, when the topic's compelling enough.
Yes.
When you have something that motivates people in terms of their guts.
Yeah.
You really have to be good to do that every night, and I'm not that good. I don't think any talk show host really puts his finger on the pulse every single night. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
Because if there's not a big story motivating people, like for instance, take the most readily one, the one that comes readily to mind is O.J. the Chase.
Sure.
Casey Anthony, sort of. Although Casey Anthony wasn't as hot as the O.J. Simpson thing.
No.
Then you got Ready Made. And all you got to say is, tonight we're talking about O.J. Simpson. The lines are going. You got a character on. I don't know what we had, but we had one guy who was, you're not going to understand. I don't appreciate what he did. Killing a white woman. You know, I'd love to know what that feels like, that's all. And so, and you get away with it because, and this is the greatest part of all, Kevin, you see guys getting thrown off the air every day in this country for doing shit that we do every night. But I get away with it because we're doing it in character.
Right.
Somehow the audiences, I swear to God, and I'm not trying to say anything, but I think we've invented the world's only funny child molester. And we have a character named Herb Sewell. And, I was at a Tascadero with Dr. Bellhaven. And, it's quirky and weird, and people are, do more of him. He's great.
Yeah.
And, initially I went in, I pushed my wife out of the car on the Grapevine. We were doing 65. And the last thing, I remember seeing her mouth moving as she was going out the door. And, and people dig. Now, how do you get away with that? If I'm going to go and say...
Well, that's the question, by the way. When it comes to, for example, initially, I was not listening in 1990 when Raj first came on after the first Gulf War.
The Gulf War, yes, But,
and he would come on and basically defend.
It defends Saddam Hussein. I don't think you understand, and you got to get provocative, and of course, we've got troops going over there. The country's nervous. Are we going to war for the first time since Vietnam? I mean, a big-ass war, and there's 300,000 guys on the ground. And now comes this guy. If you put Saddam Hussein's picture on this, I saw... yes, the toilet paper. This use idiom piss me off, Don't it? Oh, yeah. Then it's like, hey, I was driving through your town, I was driving through your burg, and what about Sitting Bull? Sitting Bull? What the hell is Sitting Bull? So if you get people, and if somebody said, well, it's like throwing a banana peel out there. No, not quite.
No.
Because these are people that see the banana peel and want to walk over it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So when they call up, they're fair game. And there's a good thing about that because anything they introduce, they're fair game. Like people will call up and say, I lost my stepdaughter to a serial murderer. I'll bet she was a piece of ass, huh? Now, you're never going to be able to call somebody and harass them that way because it's like, how dare you, But this guy's calling up, and
but
like Bob.
I don't know in what medium this sort of thing has ever existed before. like you say, you figured out a way to do the character of the whether it's a pedophile or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And last night Jamie and I were discussing that I was doing the show today with you with one of your biggest fans, of course, Gary Shandling, and he said that he remembers shortly after 9/11, I think it was Bobby Dooley who went off about the flag was too big.
Okay, yeah, perfect example. Yeah, any place where people live, any place that they are really raw, that's where we go. I mean, you got to go there. You can't pass up that opportunity. So, it's after 9/11. Everybody's waving the flag. Everyone's pissed off. Everybody's America first, which is great, and I got nothing against that. But my job is to, well, I don't want to look at it as a job. My thing is to have fun.
Find the button.
And in order to have fun, I got to fuck with people. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to run into the kitchen with ketchup. Just, Mom, God, oh God. Doing a Dennis Hopper and True Grit. I'm dying. And my mother's, that's good. You die. So I was.
Mom got the joke?
Yes, right away. So that was my thing. So 9/11, the flag, perfect. Bobby Dooley, this is a homeowners association.
Homeowners association. Let's be clear for those of you out there who are. They're sending me a note from the outer studio saying, "Is there any way Phil could make the Starbucks cup larger in the frame?"
Sorry. We put it down there.
Yeah. I always ask the director, look, if there's any way to scold the guest during the interview, please
let's do it.
Yeah. So the homeowners association, the idea was that someone in the neighborhood's flag was too big on their front lawn.
Yeah.
Well, she is a woman who is based on my mother.
And I've got a little bit of a laryngitis, so I'm not doing the voice exactly on. Yeah. My mom is Bobby Dooley, and Margaret Gray is another character, and they're both women. This was my mother. My mother would never say this, but Bobby, in this style, Bobby would say,
well, once a year I let my husband get out the liquid butter. All right.
Oh, God, what would you talk about that? How dare you? In other words, it's me. You're the ones talking about liquid butter. What the fuck, Yeah. So my mom. So Bobby would say,
Oh God, yes, that's what it was.
That's that bullshit that drives everybody crazy, and that was just that kind of. It's like when you meet someone and they're not just looking at you; they're looking you up and down.
Right.
So you're telling them, yeah. So the other day I was, and they're not listening to you.
No.
Just, Oh, isn't that great? Yeah. So Bobby is the perfect dismissive suburban,
know-it-all.
almost sociopathic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, one year, her and Steve,
and we're going to go to Germany. And we also have the brochure here. Steve, where is it for Auschwitz? It's really interesting. And
well, you understand that mass murder. Oh, yes. Yes, I do. In other words, it's interesting.
It's still funny.
And there's something really creepy about that. People go, do you understand that millions of people lost their lives there? I read about that. They're also going to have the box lunch there. I thought it would be on the way to the Black Forest or whatever. So Bobby said,
I understand that we all care about the United States of our country.
Because she doesn't even know the name of the country. I mean, this is a person who...
But the flags are too big.
And, well, your USC flag, of course, is the size of that one that flies
door.
over. Yeah, the garage door. It says,
I'm the Homeowners Association president. There are certain things I have to let people know. They have to know that I am successful. So there's my USC flag.
Bunch of bullshit. She had a topiary with her tits. I mean, what the fuck? Her husband's carved a bush into her breasts. And to her, that's all totally appropriate.
In her front lawn, yeah.
Yeah, so, and of course people are pissed, and they're like, the American flag, who gives a shit about your USC flag? And as you improv the bit, because you can bullet point it, and as you improv it based on the callers, you're picking up on things, and you may change things, and that our country is at war, and
I understand our country is at war. I'm at war. Every day I'm at war. I'm at war with the color code. I'm at war with the, I'm at war with the Remodeling Association. So I'm at war.
Yeah, but and there's that Pastor Rennick has, and I want to tell you something. Bobby Dooley's thing is,
so
and you just like
aggressive, yeah.
Boom!
Yeah.
Well, the great Laurie Metcalf
Right.
played Bobby in a pilot we did. Only her name was Teddy Duffy, and Laurie had her down, man.
Oh, God.
Laurie had her down. She had a keychain with a pink hippopotamus attached to it.
Oh,
and
nice.
Yeah, and Laurie even had the makeup woman lift one part of her mouth so it looked like she had a bad facelift. But her whole thing was like, just, well, I don't know. You know, we have a, we're going to have a, you know, a charity fundraiser for children with cancer. I don't know. You know, is that the day we're having the furniture? So it's just, so I really think it's like a sociopathic thing. These people kind of try to copy how other normal people are, but they aren't really that way inside. So if they may model it wrong.
Well, the one thing that it took me a few beats to catch on to was, I thought the comedic brilliance was, and I don't use that word loosely, but I thought the angle here was to beautifully strip down and attack and dissect and salute and parody the Bobby Dooleys, and I thought that was the crux of it until I sat back and realized, holy fuck, that's the appetizer. That's his stable, and what's really the fun to be had here is the more he presses on the gas, the more explosive these callers become, and the outrage that they are experiencing, that's the heart attack and laughter waiting to happen.
Yeah.
As these people are losing their shit live on your show.
Yeah. And then it reaches a point where they're crying.
Yeah.
And if it's the kind of tears that come from...
What's the, Father James McWhorter.
Well, Father McWhorter's. And there's Anthony Hopkins is in him based on the... Did you see the movie The Bounty?
Yes.
Anthony Hopkins had this marvelous, you'll clean up this ship in yourselves, you know. So we put that in. Yeah, so I can tell you something, Phil, that as a Catholic priest, I have never in my life ever wanted to look down a boy's slacks, you know, and this kind of thing. But he's like my Catholic upbringing, you know. I had Irishmen. I grew up in Arcadia.
Right.
Well, it's like the center of Irish priests. I mean, our Monsignor was Monsignor O'Keefe, who used to spit as he talked. And now, God! And he'd clap his hand, reeked of Johnny Walker, and he did, really. He would come out and say, all right, boys, I'm going to give you $1 if you can race your bicycles, you know. And so we had that, and Father McWhorter's was perfect for the priest molestation story. Now, that's another example of a story that's so explosive, people were just ready to, and rightfully so, you know. So what do? Naturally, we bring on the priest. Phil, I've never done anything with a child that I would ever ask of myself, you know. Now, I took the boy, what was the thing at Arby's? I took him for a beef witch. And, a beef witch, what the fuck? Turns out he's like, you know, all I wanted to do was get a tickle for a beef witch, you know. And right now, I know there's women, not men, the men love it. I know there's women out there going,
no. It's just
no,
wrong.
I don't see it. I don't get it. Actually, we do a lot when we get women at our personal appearances. They're great, and I don't want to get off topic, but I'll get back.
Oh no, there's no.
But the women that love our show, genuinely like men. Now, I'm not saying they love men. Women love men.
Yeah.
But they have a hard time liking us sometimes. The women that we get who listen to our show, I think they grew up with a lot of brothers.
Right.
They might have had a husband that died. I don't know, because they're completely empathetic to the male perspective.
Right.
And laugh their asses off.
Which is not organic to.
No, it's not.
To their thinking in general.
In a lot of ways, no, you know. But anyway, Father McWhorter's, you know, but I would do that with the Anthony, because I thought the Anthony Hopkins, you will clean up this ship yourselves. So I had to work that in. So, and Phil, I can tell you something, Father Staley, who came from Ireland. Oh, the other night we had him on, and he was on a roll. He was talking about something having to do with immigrants.
Yeah.
I come to this country in the 40s, and you don't know what it was like. I saw a man. I went to a man's home. The poor railroad worker had been crushed by a train. And there say the prayers. Now, Father, don't you interrupt me now. Don't you interrupt. And if you're Catholic, there's a thing that nuns and priests can take you right back to being 8.
Yeah.
When they say, what did you say?
Oh, boy.
When they say that to you, you're like 8 years old again.
Yeah.
And then say anything, and I didn't want to do it, I'm sorry. And so he was talking to me, and I finally said to him, Father, you know, it isn't right for you to farm out these immigrants, because it turned out he had some kind of a brokerage where he's just right, you give me a little bit under the table, I got 3 Mexicans, and, well, Father, that's terrible. I'm helping these people in this country. You weren't here when the Mexicans had no one to help them. You know, so I take a taste, you know, so, this priest, you know.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that priests are crooked bastards, but you got to go to the crooked bastard priest if you're talking about child molestation. You must.
Yeah.
You know, people want to talk to that guy.
Right.
And people would call him, Father, Father, you know, you can't. You're trying to be respectful, but you know.
Well, I can't. The thing that I keep coming back to is everyone who gets to a certain level of creating comedy, you start to think in terms of what's going to make us laugh. You know, at a certain point, you know too much about the drawing board. You know too much about the making of. You know too much about the behind the scenes, and you know sometimes we'll go to a movie and the continuity will take Jamie out of the film because
it's driving her nuts.
Yeah, because you just know that there's someone whose job it is on the set to make sure that the necklace is in the same spot on the different days' work. So once you get into the know of doing what you're attempting to do, like I remember starting out in stand-up comedy in the late 70s, Dana Carvey around the same time, and he would joke that I think he was one of the first of our generation that literally on stage, I think his first stand-up special was Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster having sex. and I said to him, don't you realize that, you know, this is pretty, you know,
explosive,
base and in fairly, if not pedestrian, in its concept and conceit. And he said, this is what makes us laugh when we're sitting around comedians. So at some point, I have to take it on stage because it excites the hell out of me.
Yeah.
To feel that, to know that, and it's going to be outrageous, whatever, for the audience, and then titillating, and they're going to laugh for that reason. But I know it's the only way to make fellow comedians laugh is to be utterly absurd and blue and ridiculous. And you had mentioned from the outset that at some point, for you, it was a realization of, I got to make myself laugh first.
Yeah, I got to have fun.
This has got to entertain the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So now that informs the following questions for me, which are, let's go back several years. You're a young cat in Arcadia. And I'm wondering what the hell was making you laugh when you were a kid.
Well,
early influences.
The first one was Laurel and Hardy.
Right.
Jackie Gleason.
Now let's stop at Gleason for a moment.
Yeah.
What part of Gleason? Because you know there was many layers going on there.
Yeah. Well, Gleason was my dad. My father was Jackie Gleason. He was a big man. He would come through the door ebullient and happy one night, and another night, the polar opposite. This kind of bipolar thing that was very real in our house. But my father almost looked like Gleason. He had jet black Irishman, jet black hair, and tonight what we're going to do is everybody, let's get in the car and go down to Knott's Berry Farm. Yeah! And then the next night is goddamn kids, and it was scary, you know, and so it was Gleason's. The thing that made me laugh about Jackie Gleason was that he made anger and strife, and horrible the things that were happening in my home funny.
Right.
And of course, even I think Jackie Gleason said at one point in his life, "I wish I could be Ralph Cramden. I wish I could just kiss her and make up, and everything's good."
Right.
And so that was that world that took that dysfunctional family in a lot of ways that they had.
So it tapped into something real.
Tapped into me, but there he was being funny, and the other thing about Jackie Gleason
also.
The what?
A certain humanity, I think.
Gleason. He was a big fat man who could use his body on a stage, man. He
could dance like crazy.
Move that big ass body of his around all over the place. These are the great comics, you know. So that was something to just. And of course, it was funny as hell to see him in the golfing togs and hello, ball, you know.
Yeah.
But the fact that home had anger in it.
Yeah.
And there's another thing. I put a roof over your head, 6 days a week. Gleason moving around the stage with the whole thing. And I learned later that he was never there for rehearsal. Never. So they had a chair and they just had to watch him get in their way. And But all of that anger and all of that dysfunction and craziness was hysterically funny. Right. Just marvelous. And I thought, boy, I love that whole character. There's something about impotent anger that makes me laugh my fucking ass off.
Impotent anger is it in a nutshell. Those two words together.
There's nothing you can do about it. You just.
Ricky Gervais seemed to reinvent the ignorant ego with his version of The Office.
Yeah.
And playing that emotion brilliantly beyond belief.
Which that show put me away. Every one of them.
All right, so Gleason.
Giorgio Armani.
Oh,
the way he's talking about his leather jacket. Fucking great, man.
So Gleason's got
Gleason,
you. Lenny Bruce a little?
Lenny Bruce,
How old are
definitely.
you when you're hearing Lenny?
I'm 12.
Oh,
when I
God.
got a hold of the first album, which was How to Talk Dirty and Influence. Was it How to Talk Dirty or Dirty Comic, I think is what it's called. The one where he's on the gravestone.
Right.
And it wasn't his dirty words. It was the situations again.
Right.
Lenny Bruce did character voices.
In the beginning, he told stories. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing dirty word about it. Yeah.
How Hitler was discovered, there isn't one dirty word in the thing, and it's the funniest thing. And it also had profound influence on me that I could have these sort of Socratic conversations with myself.
Right.
Gleason did, or Bruce did it on stage.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you got? Well, I took a chance.
Yeah.
And you schmuck you. And he's going between these guys. Then he has Hitler standing there.
Right.
Schickelgruber, huh? Well, look what he's doing. He's playing these parts. They're not perfect,
Right.
but they're taking the audience on a journey.
Yeah.
And he shows us these characters, and we see them, and we see the situation. And it made me laugh my ass off, and I like to do voices. So it began there, too, you know.
So you start doing voices at
Yeah,
that
I
point.
started, I mean, the first voice I ever did was James Mason. Oh, boy. I mean, I don't know how that happened. I mean, I went to a movie, 55 Days at Peking, with my parents. I was probably 5 or 6. But I came home with this James Mason, you see.
Yeah.
Mr. Kaplan, can I carry your bags in these festive surroundings? I'm doing it. It was the easiest voice to do, even at 5.
6 years old.
So I'm walking around the house, yeah, little baggy shorts.
And it's especially funny coming
Philip,
from
pick up your. You want me to carry your bags, do you, Mr. Kaplan? You know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started to do. I remember vividly in my bedroom, going into character and walking in character, and of course, you know, I didn't know what I was doing.
No, for you.
And I didn't want anybody to see me doing it.
No, that was the thing
You
for
know,
me too. I
yeah.
didn't want to get caught.
Caught.
But it was
you know.
it was a trip away from reality
Oh yeah.
also.
Oh yeah.
And also you got to think special and funny and weird thoughts in the guise of another character.
And anything you wanted to think.
Right.
You know, and all the time for me, it wasn't something having to do with sex or whatever, because what did I know from that? But it
No.
had to do with just, you know,
Just
somebody
creating-
falling on their ass
Yeah.
in the middle of a mall, you know, and
Right.
yeah, creating these things that could happen, and then laughing hysterically at them. You know, my kid's sister, Mary Ann, was my best audience. I would leave her, she would laugh her ass off, and this is all I would do. I would pretend like I was a confident guy going in for a job interview, close the door to my bedroom, and then I'd come out in some new crippled walk. Like, not only did I not get the job, but something had
You'd been
blood
beaten
spurting from the
horribly.
yeah, right. Well, she laughed her ass off at these little simple things, you know, that kids like. Kids love to see the world turned on its head, maybe more than anybody,
Right.
because of all the rules that they have. And what I used to take my kids to school, and Maria understood this, and the kids did too, and we'd be in the car, and there's 4 little kids, and we're pulling in, and I see a little kid in the. You see that kid? Yeah. I think I'm going to run him over. You know, I start to turn the wheel, and the kids are all, run him over, yeah! All that blackness. Well, I bonded with the kids on the level of that kind of funny honesty. You know?
Yeah. Dad's a lunatic. We love him.
You know what I'm saying? And of course, we want to. Who's easier to deal with in life, in my opinion, than kids? I don't think that they're tough at all. But
Yeah.
I mean, getting back to your question, Lenny Bruce was the guy who began all the. I listened to him do.
Characters.
He did How Hitler Was Discovered, Religions Incorporated, which is just fucking great. He's got the. All right, I'm glad to see all you boys here. And he's got all the religions, and he's talking to the Pope in Rome. When you come to the coast, and the whole thing is like a McDonald's franchise, religions. You know.
Yeah.
That was great. Jonathan Winters,
Oh,
of
boy.
course.
Oh boy.
And Winters, the best thing I ever heard him do was an outtake for a commercial session he was in. It's a series of outtakes. Did you ever hear this?
No.
Holy
What is this?
Jesus, man. It's an audio tape of Jonathan Winters. And now I know all you black cats out there want to get that King Kong hair straightener. That's right. Holy shit, you know. He says, you slap that salve on and you're free. You're free. You know, and this is Winters. I'm just fucking choking on this. You know, he's like, he says, no, I want to free you people.
Yeah.
Mr. Lincoln, you're the best president we ever had. You're gonna free me. I just don't want you cats living next door. Can you move? You know, this is Jonathan Winters. Funniest shit I ever heard. And then
Right.
you're talking because Jonathan Winters is a World War II veteran, and he talks about Lucky Strike cigarettes. You sit down in the crapper, have yourself a Lucky Strike. Yeah. Well, the engineers, everybody in the room is dying.
Sure.
And I don't think they ever did get to the commercial he was there to hire to do.
No.
But it was pure. I can imagine what Jonathan Winters would have been like in the age of internet, as peaking as a comic.
Oh, God.
Just do any of that shit that he
Yeah.
wanted to do. Because now that all that racial shit it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right. I mean, it's not like
It's
if you're putting it into a satirical form.
People of a basic level of intelligence are
Yeah.
starting to catch on to what the word intent means.
Right.
What is the intent of what you're saying? And even the recent thing with Buchanan and Sharp.
What'd you think of that?
Well, I thought that it was immediately apparent what the intent was, even though the word boy is a
Really red hot, man.
odd choice to make.
I know you boys. Of course, I don't mean nothing
Yeah.
racial about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your boy
Yeah.
Obama. Now,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
and of course, coming from that ridiculous Southern accent of his, it couldn't sound worse or more like a slave owner.
Yeah.
So it became a bit fueled because of that. But you instantly know, if you listen to the conversation, what the intent was.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that word. It's just, what the fuck is the intent?
But you know, Letterman laid it out for the audience, I think, for the very first time. Whereas as comics will get it, he said, if I can't sell you guys on what I was trying to say, then I fucked up. Because, you know, when it was the Palin joke,
Right.
he said, perception is everything. And because you perceived it to be a certain way, I failed.
Right.
And I kind of, I can understand that too.
Pretty great to own that.
It was fantastic. It was the first time I ever heard anybody do that, you know. And
Do you remember Letterman first show back after 9/11?
absolutely,
One of the greatest moments
It was
in broadcasting.
it was unbelievable, man. It was compelling. It was so, and Dan Rather.
Yeah.
And I have to say, then I tuned in Jay 2 nights later, and he's got cue card.
You know, we feel bad. We feel bad about what's going on. And we don't want to have it interrupt us. That's it, interrupt us.
So nothing. Sorry, Mr. Leno, but
Yeah,
you
he's
should
one
have
of
just stayed off the air another week, maybe.
he's one of our regulars. He's in the chat room.
Okay.
I do remember, by the way, we were talking, I think before we went on the air, about I would drive home from stand-up gigs out in the
Right.
boonies and driving back. I would listen to Larry King on Mutual Radio overnight.
Larry.
He really was a great broadcaster in terms of what that overnight radio could be, just in terms of a guy sitting in a studio smoking.
Right.
And then the other one who immediately captivated myself, and a great many, myself for different reasons, because I easily and instantly caught him to be a lunatic, which was Art Bell. And then
Yeah,
when I
Art's
was
gone.
telling this to Wesley, the fabulous makeup artist on the aforementioned unmentionable film, he said, well, you know, Phil does Art Bell, and then he threw in another CD, and I shit myself. Because, first of all, what can you tell us about Art Bell first? Because I never really, I just remember...
Well, as a broadcaster, as a good broadcaster and entertainer, he appreciated the impression. You know, he didn't take
I'm
it
sure he did,
Yeah.
but he's a snake oil salesman from the get. No?
You know, here's the thing.
Does he believe it?
If he believes it, which I believe...
If he
I don't-
believes it, all... That's,
I got to give Art credit for one thing before we say whether he believes it or not. He
Right.
gives dignity to people who up to this point had never been given any dignity.
That is true.
The guy believes in a liquid being that lives in your bathroom. Okay, I got a few minutes. Lay it on me and I'll give you dignity and I won't laugh and I won't. And suddenly people gravitated toward him who believed in these beings and creatures. Now,
specializing in the UFOs, for those of you
Yeah.
who don't know what we're
exactly,
talking
Art
about.
Bell. But whether he believed it or not, I don't think you have to.
No.
I think you just have to give dignity. Although, you know, one night I'm driving home, and I'm Art Bell, and if I turn my television set on January 1st, 2000, and I see nothing but snow, I'm breaking out the supplies. You know, and that's ghoulish, you know.
Yeah.
But, and thank you, Ross Mitchell and all the ships at sea. You know who's a big fan of ZZ Top? Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top. You know, they got Russ Mitchell on their CD.
Yeah.
And Billy came into my studio one night. I met him because he listened to my show. I said, "What are you doing here?" I was on the Art Bell show. It was down the hall, you know. All kinds of people were fans of his. And I think it's just the fact that he does give. General Johnson Jameson is joining us. General Jameson.
This
what
guy
is going-
wheeled out
Yes.
from...
Right. Well, he was based on Richard C. Hoagland that was always on Art's show. And it was always that distant, elderly sort of,
Right.
you know, a guy who is an authority figure and almost could be a warm uncle, but now he's talking about shit that's worrying me. You know, it gets like, well, thank you, Art. And of course, the goblin juice is coming along fine. Now, what is the goblin juice? You know what it is. We talked about it. No, I mean, the one show that we did where Art and General Jameson wound up outside of Area 51, and they had sex with each other.
That's right.
Because there was a little bit of blood and also empty bottles of wine. Now, I don't know how they got there, but it had something to do with the goblin juice, you know. But Art hears that. He thought it was funny. So I think in the sense of making fun of or setting that up, man, it's just there. It's big. People are passionate about it. Go for it, you know. And I'm Art Bell, and from all the ships at sea and coast to coast, the wild card line. What is the wild card line? Anybody can call on it. You know,
Yeah.
I am a wild card now. Hi, I just called on the other line. Here I am now.
Yeah.
Our wild card line, east of the Rockies, south of the what the fuck? And I had to come up with new ways of saying that, you know. But
Yeah, you did.
Art broke all the rules, man. He starts this. First of all, Art starts an hour with a commercial.
Of course.
No one ever does that.
Why would you?
Art has 40-minute long phoner interviews.
Yeah.
Guys on a phone. No other calls, just, and then what? And then, of course, and I'm driving, and you're driving, we're all driving. Now, in the Black Forest, where you find the Ewok, these things will have, it's long. And I began to think, this is perfect for a long stretch of desert highway, just where Art is.
Outside Pahrump.
Yeah, and you just sit and you listen to this. So every single rule in the book, Art broke.
Right.
And wins with it.
Right.
Because he believes so much in what he does, and because people are just so compelled by it. You
My
know.
family and I have been threatened, and I'm packing up. And
Remember that, man?
Yeah.
Now that was a real thing. He was off the air,
Yeah.
and
Leaving the airwaves, not by choice. Someday I hope to explain why.
I'd like to explain why, but I can tell you when I heard what happened, I wanted to go after someone with a gun. That's something like David Brinkley. Good evening, I'm David Brinkley, and I want to commit mayhem in a mall.
Yeah.
You know. So you're like, okay, that's fucked over. So the Art's gone. Now they bring in Mike Siegel from Seattle. Wasn't any good. It's not Mike's show.
Right.
You know, George is doing good with the show now.
Right.
I think because George has a great sensibility. George is also one of the sweetest, nicest guys ever in the history of the business, man. I mean, just a nice man. And it was Art's protege. But we're never, ever going to have Art, who was in Pahrump, in a bunker, with a shotgun in his lap. And Ramona's outside taking pictures of those craft now. We'll upload it. Jesus Christ, what's going on, man? It was awesome. It was cool. And then he calls up Craig Kitchen, who's the president of Premiere, and Craig would share these stories with me. He says, I just got off the phone with Art. He's off the grid, so we can just... Really, yeah, he's no electricity. I'm off the grid, meaning his own gas, his own electricity. So he's...
Yeah.
I guess to answer that first question, Kevin, yeah, maybe he's totally into it, man.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he gives dignity.
Well, it was always genuine. It was never a question as to
Right.
whether or not he was genuine.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you clearing it up because I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I thought you would know for sure.
That is a good question to ask of a lot of people, man. There's a lot of cats that are on the air doing the conservative thing, for instance, bullshit. You know, they don't buy it, they don't believe it. You can tell in the way they inform themselves how intelligent they are when they articulate what they're saying. I don't believe these guys are real. These are just cats that are, you know, spouting off because that's what's happening. But with Art, yeah,
and by the way, far be it from me to tell anybody how to make $1 in this ridiculous world.
But now a word from no.
No, I want to bring in our
like Twitter is taking advertising.
I want to bring in our audience who like to ask the live questions.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, via the chat room or the Twitter. Are you enjoying it? You're enjoying yourself on the Twitter? How long have you been on the tweet?
On Twitter?
Yeah.
2009, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Same here.
Yeah, and there was a point there where I was tweeting the Laker game. Why was I doing that? You know, just balls going down the floor. Okay, so and I look at this, 15,000 tweets. What happened there?
Yeah.
Then when I realized that the best Twitterers don't tweet a lot.
Right.
They think about what they're going to say and they say a really good thing. It's a good place to promote.
Well, for a guy who thrives in not self-editing.
Yeah, that's right. It's tough.
Letting the imagination and the creativity wander.
Yeah.
And that's where the brilliance is found.
You have to.
There's an interesting thing as a comedy writer as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Shanling about it last night. It's this weird. We never thought in terms of 140 characters. Yeah, and so it may become something larger later.
Yeah.
But the initial funny or observation thing happens in this very tightly edited box.
Yeah, and not everybody is good at it. And even some guys that are making their money as comics are like kind of bad at tweetering. You know? It's like, to give it a radio analogy, it's like when Bill Drake came in and created the more music format. Now the disc jockey had to be in 30 seconds to 45 seconds, really funny and really witty. And next record, next record, next record. It's sort of that. I don't think that it's I don't think it's necessarily good. It may be good in that it helps people sharpen a thought. And but when you're improvising, man, you can't really do that.
No, it's the opposite of improv for sure.
Yeah.
But when it comes to writing, it's all about editing.
Yeah.
So as a writer, I think it's a fantastic tool.
Well, people will sit, I'll be like, my girl Barry was over the other day. She says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just sculpting a tweet. I'm sitting there like for 15 minutes. Hi, my name. No, wait, Phil Hendrie. No, Henry." And it's sculpting a tweet. What the fuck, man? You'll put it out there and it'll be, and then the next day you'll read it and go, "That was shit. Why did I do that?
Yeah, oh no.
Why am I alive?"
No, there should be a book of regrettable treats.
Regrettable treats?
Or tweets.
Regrettable treats.
I've had both.
Treats
Halloween.
is Halloween, and regrettable tweets is a daily affirmation. So we have a series of rapid-fire 5 questions, and we call it Tweet 5, Cue David Koechner.
T5, T5, T5 forever now.
That's a motherfucking funny cat, the Dave Koechner. So this, a Tweet 5 is a Coke or Pepsi, this or that style of questions. There's 5 of them. They come from the audience, designed specifically for you.
Is it one of these I got to answer as fast as I can?
Well, there's no speed record necessarily, but it's just sort of that rapid-fire Coke or Pepsi, no correct answer kind of thing.
Got it.
This one comes to you from @RealStateRossi. L.A. or San Francisco?
L.A.
TV or radio?
TV.
Variety or Entertainment Weekly?
Variety.
King of the Hill or Futurama?
King of the Hill.
Miracle Whip or Mayo?
Mayo.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
What are we talking about?
That's a
Talking about Miracle
no-brainer.
Whip here, yeah.
Well, how is that even a question?
There was a whole Miracle Whip thing happening, speaking of Twitter, and Miracle Whip, is a bad joke, and it's a bad tasting thing, and I don't want to, offend Kraft. It's a great product. Sure.
Well, if they deserve to be offended.
Yeah, but I mean, you reach and you put mayo into, you put Miracle Whip into something that was supposed to have mayonnaise. You speaking of your brain breaking, I think like I have a brain tumor, like the olfactory sense has changed.
Right.
Oh God, what happened? It tastes like Miracle. No, it is Miracle Whip. Thank you. It's bad shit. Bad shit.
You spoke briefly about the disc jockey that's being forced to change the format constantly.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit, just before getting into the disc jockey biz, you found yourself in the Orlando, at least according to your dossier, working some construction on the Disney World.
Yeah, I was.
You pounded nails in the construction of the Disney World?
Yeah, I worked for a buddy's father. We all went out to Orlando in the early 70s, 19-year-old kids. And I wanted to, as we all do, wanted to leave home. I was, living in Los Angeles, so I guess you go to a smaller town. Is
Sure,
what you do.
sure.
I want to leave the big city behind and go to a place where there's colored service sign here, says, go around back and all that shit, which is exactly what Orlando was.
Even in the early 70s?
In the early 70s, Orlando still had a diner with colored service here, even though it was against the law. But
Right.
the guy kept the sign there because he just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He was not going to be told what to
yeah.
do.
I just think it's funny. You all go out on the front door like all the rest of them do. Come on. Like, God, just to, throw some indignance on the guy. But,
Right.
yeah, we went down there, Rob and me and our friend Ray, and went to work for his father pouring sidewalks. And I was into concrete construction, which is basically, well, I destroyed my back.
Sure.
All the alkaline and the cement, lost my hair. I'm better looking today. I know I must be
because
for
of
the sun that beat it down on me.
Uh-huh.
And so it was but it was actually cool. I was there working my ass off, and the humidity is 115 degrees, and there's insects, man.
Oh, yeah.
You think California? No. You go down to Orlando, and they're smeared on a windshield. They're burrowing under your flesh.
Yeah.
I had to dig swimming pool holes, and in Florida it's all sand, so you get sand gnats, and at the end of the day you look like you have leprosy, and everyone says, "How you feeling, huh? Go for dinner now? I gotta get some salve or something." What the fuck are you guys talking about?
You're laying cement in the Disney
Yeah,
World.
we're pouring cement there at Disney World, and also in the surrounding areas.
Did you notice that Walt Disney was in fact burying Jews at the time?
Was he bearing Jews or barring them?
Bearing.
Bearing Jews.
In the swamps and using cement so that it's.
I can't say that I saw that. I can't say that I saw that. I would never say, no, I never saw nothing of that, what do you want to call, type of thing. No, I didn't,
Yeah.
Walt Disney, to me, a Catholic kid, was a guy who dropped acid. I didn't know about the fact that he was a virulent anti-Semite till I didn't really care about those things anymore.
That's exactly right.
Because I got your pass to the park, and
right.
No, it's unfortunate. Separate the man from his work is what they say. Increasingly we have to do that.
You won't find bigger fans of his work with some of us around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Devotee. Can you lift the annual premium pass to all Disney Worlds around from your wallet? Or
No kidding.
Is it way too much?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wait, Euro Disney or Disney Paris?
And there's a
only in the U.S.
There's a China Disney now. Oh yeah.
I'm dying to go to
And the guy
the
that
one in Tokyo. Kenny's been.
The one in Tokyo.
The one in Tokyo?
Shanghai? Where's the one in?
There's going to be one in Shanghai. I found out from the guy. I was at Comic-Con, and the driver, guy by the name of Fuji, he was Japanese, but a great guy, and he says, yeah, and he great American accent. He'd been in the States for a long time. Oh yeah. Chinese are going to have one too, huh? What do you think of that? Huh? What do those Chinese? How about them with the balls on them?
Nothing more funny than listening to
guy.
a Japanese guy go after the Chinese guy.
Ripping a Chinese guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to have a Disney, and he said, "Well, about time, man. All our money's going over there. Now some of it's coming back, huh?" That's the way I see it. I'm like, now that's really interesting, man. It used to be that we made, washing machines, and now it's, our money's coming back by way of cartoons and things. What is that? So anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that.
No. So you're laying cement, but
laying cement, yeah.
At what point, while the bugs are burrowing into your skin, are you thinking maybe I should try radio? I mean, how does
that happened?
That was also
I always wanted to be on the radio from the time I was 5 years old, because we traveled back to Canada to visit our relatives. My father was driving my siblings, 4 kids, in a '56 Mercury. How did they do that?
Jesus.
But my father would be awake driving, and I was awake, and to this day I'm awake in the middle of the night. And I must have been, think of how small you are if you're leaning on the front seat standing, from the back seat.
Oh, that's great.
But I was listening to these voices, and of course it's the long drive at night through the desert, and these are voices that are telling me the temperature in cities, and they're talking to me about a, Patty Page record or some shit. And I thought, well, this is the coolest job in the world. This cat's just out there just, coming up here on, this is K-Boy, Boise, and tomorrow, and so I got to do that. And then when I was 13,
the first time you hear Wolfman Jack.
And when I heard Wolfman Jack, who to this day is the epitome of what our industry, the radio industry, can do.
Right.
I think Howard's another one.
Right.
But Wolfman Jack, oh, you feeling precious? Of course he was doing things you can't do now, doing call-outs and putting people on the air. But when I was 13 or 12, I rode my bike over to KRLA, and then I watched Casey Kasem and those guys. So I pretty much knew that that would be a good way to make a living while I wrote, because I thought I really wanted to be a writer.
Right.
Well, I didn't get any writing done, but I was doing construction, and a buddy of mine, his cousin, was on the air in Orlando doing afternoons, a kid named Bill Barber. And so I would talk to Bill, I said, I don't know, I just did it, it's afternoon drive, and he was on the air every day in Orlando. Bill Barber here, WLOF, yeah, it's the fair, I said, wow, the guy's on a radio station right there. How do you do that? And he says, you make a tape, Well, what kind of a tape, man? I don't have a tape. Well, read some commercials and some news. Yeah, sure. I'd say, do that. Read some commercials and some news and put it on a tape, So I did. And I got some other advice. You just piecemeal it.
Sure.
Little cassette tape of me going, in other news, President Nixon, resigned today, or whatever happened in 72,
Right.
73. I took it around to stations everywhere. I went to Eustis, Florida, everywhere in the Orlando
Suburbs.
area, right, Apopka. And I got a job in Winter Park, which is a large suburb of Orlando, at an overnight, midnight to 6, on a radio station. Now, this is about as bad as it gets in terms of, is anyone really going to be out there listening? 1440 is what we call the ghetto end of the dial. You go way up to the end of the dial, and you notice the stations get squished together more and more. Mm-hmm. We're down at 64710. It's all just like big, wide open. KFI, and we're big. Don't you come near me.
Yeah.
But you get way up there, it's all like WOKB in Orlando, Tiger Radio, yeah. This guy's not even a pro. Get on down to Eddie's Chicken Shack, and come on, look at here. Where's the address on that? I'll do the commercial now. So, and then they also had like the preachers. Oh my God, my favorite
You're studying without knowing.
I didn't know it, but the guys, they're off mic about a foot. There's the microphone there, and they're like, God did say that, and I'm in a room, and there's no insulation, there's nothing, there's no baffling, just yelling. And you drive by the station. Now, where the fuck is that station? WVOB, Voice of Central Florida, WVCF. When I drove by it, it was a house in a swamp.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
you can't believe it.
Yeah, it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, and there's a guy with a pipe. Howdy. And just going up the thing. And the guy is, and he's off mic. He says, you know, and of course with our prayer cloth, and you get one prayer cloth, blessed by me. I wipe down with it, you know, my pits, I don't know. What the fuck is the guy doing with prayer cloth? So all of this is going on in a very funky and not, very unprofessional, but somehow, and I got this job, but I'm working with all these northern cats. Oh, yeah. So I'm in a radio station in suburban Orlando, but I'm working with some big-time guys that did radio in Atlanta. They were in Chicago. They were in Cleveland. Jerry Peterson was my first GM. A little guy with a Beatle haircut. Remember the old Beatle haircuts?
Oh, Jesus.
The guy was like, and a big voice. Hey, Phil, listen, you don't want to do this and do that. Tony Bell, all these guys. So I had a really good crew to sort of break in with all these pros.
Right.
Well, you're pretty good, kid. You're pretty good. And just do it, you know, keep it tight. They gave me some pointers, but I never knew how to make the personality thing happen.
Right.
I just didn't know, and I was scared to death to try it because guess what? You get fired.
Sure.
Guys are getting fired left and right, you know.
Also, the idea initially was to get into
Just
radio.
get in there, yeah.
And once you get in, I'm sure you immediately learn the rules and regulations and staying in radio, and they don't involve your thoughts.
And they don't involve your thoughts, they don't involve you being creative, they involve you keeping your job.
Yeah, that's how it can take 15 years before you go,
That's interesting.
wait a second.
Well, see, now that's the first time I've ever heard anybody echo that. I thought I was the only guy that fucked around for 20 years.
No.
Not doing anything, you know, when I'm 20.
Because, again, that's all it is. Initially, I just want in. Please just let me in.
Yeah.
That's how someone ends up cleaning up after the elephant, because they just want in. And in that case, you know, you get the other side of the joke, which is what and give up show business. So
That's it, man.
you get in, the idea is, how do I stay here? Because every day if somebody says, well, you know, if you don't do this, you're fired.
Exactly.
And then you start chasing that fucking thing around and around.
Well, not only that, and then they're telling you what's funny, which is the most crippling thing that can happen to you. You know, that wasn't funny what you did.
And you're hearing comedy albums
Yeah.
where people are just really starting to break it out. And
People are busting out. At that time in radio, Wolfman Jack was sort of, you know, he was already on Midnight Special, so he was mainstream big time.
Right.
We had the remnants of Boss Radio, which was, Real Don Steele was good, but we didn't have any long form funny guys, except for the FM stations, so-called progressive rock, were playing. What passed for spoken word was National Lampoon albums they would play. And
Lemmings. And
the Lemmings and Firesign Theater, Credibility Gap, you know. But the jocks, Stephen Klein worked here in L.A. You didn't know Obscene Stephen? No. He was on, and anybody who knows L.A. radio, the Obscene Stephen Klein, you know. And this is Stephen Klein, and you can call up the Troubadour and find out what time the shows are tonight. The bitch will put you on hold for half an hour, but you can try it.
And that was outrageous.
That was outrageous.
Yeah.
That was outrageous. That was Stephen Klein. You know, tonight Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier at the Forum. So what's it going to be? Abortion on demand or send them back to Africa? This fucking Stephen Klein, 1973. Stephen went, and I don't know Stephen Klein with all respect, but the word was he went back to Boston, got fired in L.A., and turned into a squeaky clean top 40 CHR disc jockey because he's got a wife and kids. Can't screw around. Yeah. This guy was a genius on the rise.
Well, that begs the question: how many times along your path, once you found the beginning of The Voice, as we mentioned in 1990 with the birth of Raj?
Yeah.
Here in town at KVEN.
KVEN in Ventura.
That's where it started.
Yeah.
At that point forward, how many times are you told, I'm real glad that you're finding your voice and whatnot, Phil, but we just don't have a place for you here?
I don't think that happened then because I was old enough not to accept that as an answer. I was old enough, in other words, Kevin, to know that you better know what you're getting before you hire me.
Right.
You know, and I made that very clear. Maybe that's the good part of, you know, it taking 15 years. You get a lot of stuff under your belt. So they knew what they were hiring, and if anybody tried to give me shit, I would say, this is what I do. Well, no, it's funny. You know, it's funny, but when you said, can you just say people of color, not colored people? I said, well, that's the character saying it. That's the satire. if you trying to explain satire to the average radio executive.
Oh my God! And they know that it's you,
Yeah.
and so they think, well, I have to answer for the characters you're playing.
And I know, Phil, but you know, there is
Oh,
nothing
my
in
God.
this world more frustrating than talking to a
can't.
radio executive about creativity.
And
These
what's
guys,
funny?
Yeah, I worked for one GM in my whole life, Bob Green, in Miami, who would sit down and prep the show with me because he just thought it was fun and he
Yeah.
liked talent. And I love Bob for that, you know.
Well, one of my favorite things when you come back to KFI finally and settle into.
Oh, I got into trouble with Howard Neal, and I don't blame Howard. He was our GM.
But the way you went after David Hall and made
Yeah,
him
David-
made him part of the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
I want to tell you that was one of the first regular characters that pulled me right in, and there was no place to go because it took a couple of beats before I realized. Oh fuck! He's also David Hall. Jesus, because I would hear this management come bursting into your studio and tell you what you could and couldn't do during the show.
During the show, yeah.
And you would say,
And I don't wanna do
David,
that.
don't fuck, I'm on the air, don't come in and tell me. And then he would just lose it. And I thought, oh, I see. The funny part is that his manager at the station doesn't realize that he's on the air. Nope, that's not it.
He knows he's
That's
on the
not
air.
it. That's also Phil.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
Phil, look, Phil, I don't mean to come in on the show like this. You know that I love and respect you. Yeah, sure. Well, what does yeah, sure mean? You know, I'm trying to. So now they get petty. He's getting a little petty shit. We're on the fucking air, man. All right, we're on the air. I told you, we got to get the women. We got to get the women. And you're talking about. It would generally be something that we could really hook the audience with. Like, don't you dare say that such and such is a good thing. Which the audience, you know, I can't think of one right now, but. I don't want you. Don't have that opinion. Have the other one, David. I said have the other one. You know,
Right.
You know,
Because he's management.
Yeah, I'm management, and I know. So he was the actual David, and the real David G. Hall is not anything like that.
No, of course not.
But he did say to me, "Don't you ever stop doing that character. Don't you ever stop doing that character."
Right.
So to this day, David's out there in the world laughing his ass off while
Yeah.
I make him the buffoon. But that character was an absolute concentration of every stupid fucking GM program director that you ever worked with in your life.
Something like that probably makes you a hero to Howard Stern, who dealt with those same assholes his whole career.
Oh, sure.
And I know he's an insanely devoted fan.
Well,
was.
it is. Howard's a good guy. He's said nothing but good things to say about. I don't think he's listening nowadays because we're everywhere and nowhere at once sometimes with the show. But that's a guy who did have one person believe in him, Mel Karmazin, who hired him at NBC or hired him away from NBC.
Right.
And Mel Karmazin, I think, got Howard totally, built a whole company around him.
Yeah.
And then brought him over to Sirius. And what's happening now, and I've I just don't think what happened with Sirius was a smart thing, him buying XM, and it was just a disastrous move. And now Howard is suing Mel,
Right.
you know. But radio executives, radio program directors, they don't want to talk about creative. They want to talk about bottom line. And yeah, he's funny, but is he pulling ratings? Well, you got to understand something. For me to pull ratings, especially Phil Hendrie, you've got to position the show properly. There takes some marketing.
Yeah.
And everything is so turnkey now, and everything is so next quarter now that, well, fuck it. Just put it on the shelf, and let's put something else out there, you know.
Why take a chance when we don't have to?
Yeah, but we like him. We want to keep him, you know, let's tie him up to a 6-year contract, not pay him anything. And so you got security, kid, you know, but you can't, like even in television and film, there are awards that are given to shows that don't necessarily have big ratings, or there are awards given to movies that don't bring in a lot of box office.
Right.
But radio is the only entertainment medium that punishes the shit out of you if you're not, you know, scoring boffo numbers. Now, we've done numbers despite where we are,
Right.
you know. Kevin, right, sure. Phil.
No, you're right.
No, you're lying now. No, it's true, but I'm talking too much about numbers.
You can't.
Yeah.
No, because it's the bottom line is even in this fourth phase of my alleged career, as I dive into the interwebs.
Yes.
At some point, and when it gets to sponsorship,
You got to go there.
it becomes numbers.
Yeah.
Regardless.
I think what I'm saying though is that with a show like mine, and I don't mean to, I just have to use this analogy. If all you ever sell are Corvettes,
Right.
and even Rush, and this has nothing to do with his political beliefs. People will say, "What do you think of Rush Limbaugh?" And I always have to say, as a broadcaster or as a, well, yeah, as a broadcaster, I think he's great. So you're conservative.
Right.
No, you asked me about him as a broadcaster, you know.
Right.
So you sell Corvettes, and even Rush is a Corvette. He's a goddamn good Corvette. Howard's a great Corvette, but they're Corvettes.
Right.
Now along comes Phil, and he's a off-road vehicle of some kind, a real good one. But all these guys don't know how to sell that.
No.
And it's like having, I always say, it's like having a tie-dye T-shirt section of a tuxedo store.
Right.
So at the end of the day, people will say, this guy's really good, but we aren't going there, we're going here.
Well, damn you for doing something that no one else is doing, no one else ever has done.
It's funny.
Period. Damn you for being original. You're going to have to pay a price forever for being one of a kind. Because we don't know how to program it,
No,
and we don't know how to market it, and we don't know how to sell it to advertisers. You just keep doing it.
Just keep doing that.
Yeah.
And we want you to keep doing it.
Right.
And I make money on my website. People subscribe, so obviously there's somebody out there that wants to give me their money. But the broadcast generation today, well, look at the business. Companies are worth $1.50 a share. I mean, it's embarrassing. Everybody listens to the radio, and these guys can't make any money managing radio stations. So
how about the dripping irony of I overuse the line now that Andy Warhol was close when he said everyone will be famous for
15 minutes.
Yeah, everyone will have their own podcast for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
There's tens of thousands of idiots. I'm being one of them. and the irony is, I was saying to a few guys last night at this gathering of allegedly funny people, why are we all dying to get into radio at this point in our lives and careers? Which is what the podcast ultimately
is.
Yeah.
Well, it does allow you, and radio is good in the sense that it allows you to tell a story, to build things. It also lets you pull the audience's head out of the comedy trough, what I call bringing them up for air.
Yeah.
If you're doing 3 solid hours, and I do 3 solid hours every night trying to go for funny stuff, but even I do an hour where some of my real Phil is going to come out. The audience wants to know you at some point.
Yeah.
And I think you want the audience to know who you are. I mean, look, you're not all about jokes, man. You've got opinions about the world. If you can find a way to really put it out there creatively, the unfortunate thing is, I know so many guys that come out of comedy and think that their 45 minutes of material is going to carry a 3-hour show, and
Boy, is that wrong.
it's wrong, man. And so then you're bring yourself, okay, what's your opinion going to be?
Right. How much of your actual point of view
do you want to let people know, man? Because I don't, I mean, it can be dicey, especially in the entertainment world. So, and by that I mean, there is sort of there's a big line between conservative and liberal artists in LA.
Sure.
And I've talked to some of the conservative writers who will talk to you in whispers.
Right.
I just want you to know, but I can't let them know. Well, when I was at King of the Hill, they had to do a memo. The green room is for our guests. Keep your goddamned opinions to yourselves out there, because there was a big fight going on in the green room one day about stuff. So that's really, you got to commit to that, man. And once you do that, you have to almost say, well, I'm done with my comedy phase. Now I'm in my broadcaster phase.
Right.
And
our audience continues to want to ask you personal questions, sir. This one from the chat room, Lady Diode. Will I ever say that correctly?
He actually answered that question already.
Okay, good.
Through conversation.
Then I don't have to mispronounce her name. We're too late.
No, you're fine. That's
I already
it.
did.
Lady Diode.
Combat Carl, question for Phil. Has Phil or his station ever paid for actors to call in posing as listeners?
Never.
This does bring me to an interesting story that I would very much love you to share. First of all, the answer is never.
Never, yeah.
Gary Shandling decides, he tells us this last night, I grabbed Kinnear one night and we went over to, he says, Phil does his show in the building over there, and you just go up the elevator. And so we went over and we're sitting there watching, and he sees we're watching and mentions in the show that I was performing at a bar mitzvah coming up or something. And then I said to him during the break, would it be all right if I just called in as myself?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Gary was there
experience.
with Greg Kinnear, in fact, and I said to the guys outside, it was fun because they both came in, and there was
And
a
this
little
happens
bit,
on occasion.
It happened on occasion.
Howard came.
Howard came by, John Carpenter, June Lockhart, and her granddaughter.
Hello.
And I'm excuse me, June, for saying, it's just funny. She and her granddaughter listened to my show because her daughter, the mother of the child, forbade the Phil Hendrie Show, and so June's like, don't tell her. And
Nice.
so there's June, and a lot of people, and great
Over the
people
years,
over the
sure.
years. So now comes Gary and Greg, and they looked like any guy would look who'd been sort of bar hopping and walking.
Right.
So there's a tan, there's sweat, and they're like, hey, you know. So now they hadn't been drinking, but they definitely looked like they'd been out, I don't know,
Something.
doing some hitchhiking. So anyway, they come in, and I have Bobby Dooley on the line, and is talking, and then I see Gary's here, and this is, and Gary said, can I, you know, jump in with Bobby? He says, yeah, be funnier than fuck. Now, I don't know if he was on the phone. I think he was calling on the phone. And, yeah, Phil, I just want you to know I'm a big fan. Oh, my God, Gary Shandling. We are having our summer-tacular. Yeah, I just called, and we're having our summer-tacular. We have 4, fall-tacular, winter-tacular, spring-tacular, and summer-tacular. Thank you, Steve. And so, I'll do it, Steve. And, Gary Shandling, I really like it. Well, I'm talking to him. Mr. Shandling, yes.
Husband in the background.
Husband in the background.
Kills
Steve,
me.
you know, he's
never
like,
gets near the phone. He can't quite.
And how does he hear it when it's a 7-second delay? We don't know these things. We're not going to explain it yet.
Don't go to Logic, Phil.
Yeah. So, oh my God, Gary Shandling, we are having our, yeah, well, I can't do it. I just called to talk to Phil. Well, we're having our fashion show, and I'm very busy. I have things, and we're also going to have the fashion show. We'll have it. Well, what's it pay? You know? So that was Gary, and just doing a little bit of improv, and then people call and go, that was fantastic. You conned Gary Shandling. And I felt so bad. No, I did not con Gary Shandling.
Right.
He was actually here.
Right, he was actually there.
So I had to do, I don't know if Gary ever got any shit for it, but I felt like
No,
I
he
needed,
actually said last night he loved that the audience was
Thought that he got
loved that you were able to con him.
Yeah.
He actually got a huge kick out of that.
Gary's the only guy that we did that with because he's a comic, so he can improv, and although there are people who have wanted to do, you know, George Carlin, God bless him.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get a call from George Carlin and he says he thinks you're funny, it's, for me, it's huge. You know, anybody.
That's Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. And he said, Phil, would you ever want to have some guys doing voices with you on the show? I said, geez, that's great, George. How do I say no to George Carlin? You know, it's fantastic. Let's talk about it, you know. Think about it.
Well, what do? I mean, I know that...
I would not do it because one of the things is I would rather, if I'm going to bomb, the way I've constructed the show, I just might as well bomb on my own, you know.
Well, everything is so specific.
Pretty much,
and
yeah.
everything is so by design.
Yeah, the point of view.
And as much as there's improvisation afoot, non-stop, it is controlled.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. By
it has to be,
the,
you know.
the parameters and the various home bases you can touch when you need to.
And really, one of the reasons why I started to do this is because I liked the idea of a multi-host show. I liked the idea of sort of a Mad Magazine of the Airways. But nobody that I was partnered with, I liked talking to in the air. I mean, not that I didn't like them, but it just wasn't good. Be able to control a partner, you know, there's an idea. Although it makes it now into this broad theater piece, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind that because I really don't give a shit about talk radio, to be honest with you. I mean, I care about people's opinions, but I know what talk radio is, man. It's not real, and so it's a send-up. And more than anything else, it satirizes what I hate the most about radio,
right?
Which is the phony baloney.
Yeah.
You know, Phil, this is Don Berman, Channel 19 News. I am going to tell you. Now there was something we had. It was, I forget. It was Story Back East.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're raising money at the 5, 6, and 7 o'clock report, and of course 11 o'clock with our Up with America report with Donna DeVerona or whoever the fuck, you know, I just get all this stuff. And now, but you had a drinking problem. You know, that was completely unnecessary, you know, and sort of selling himself as something that he's not. And I like all of that phony sincerity and aren't we just great because we're public service minded? Bullshit, no you're not. The fact that these guys would risk the happiness and the future of our country just by making sure they get their conservative point of view or their liberal point of view, you know, that really pisses me off.
Sure.
It pisses me off when the country's in distress and some fuckhead. And let me tell you one more thing that Barack Obama's doing wrong.
Yeah.
This is what drives me nuts about this guy. I've heard it already, man.
Holy shit.
You know, what the fuck? Talk radio is a complaint machine now, man. It's 24 hours of one asshole after another complaining. And you can go to the liberal side, too. Randy Rhodes is, I love Randy, man. She's a great radio personality. She's a liberal. But still, it's the same kind of thing. We're like, you know, this guy's fault and this guy's fault.
Yeah. Nobody cares anymore.
No one gives a shit about the art of broadcasting, Kevin. You know, what are we doing here? Look at this medium that we have. Look what we can do.
Right.
And I was talking about last night on the air, since deregulation, you would think that when a business or an industry is deregulated, it begins to broaden. It brings things in. It experiments. It has all these properties.
Oh, no. More narrow than ever.
Narrower than ever, to the point now where it's a caricature of itself. Every goddamn show is the same sounding piece of shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on.
Right.
There's no real creative chops.
Find the one thing that seems to be working, and let's all do that.
And let's everybody, it's like Steve Levitan said once, I'm not trying to drop names, he produced a pilot that was animated that featured my brilliance that, you know, didn't get picked up, but Family Guy did. And anyway, no, American Dad. But Steve said, you know, TV is a bunch of people running to where lightning just struck.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And that's the same thing with radio. It's
Right.
Rush took off, so everybody's got to be a conservative. But it's just gotten smaller and smaller, more narrow, so that when I'm on the radio and I'm doing satire, I got to explain to these guys, well, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
It's a child molester that I'm making fun of. You can't talk about that.
Yeah.
Don't you? I mean, you might as well have a theater manager who doesn't understand what all those people on the stage are doing. All he knows is cats come in the door.
Right.
I got a lot of people in the door.
Yeah.
Okay,
Why is
so
everyone dressed differently on stage?
Everyone's dressed on stage. What the fuck is that? That's why they came here. No, I know that. I know that. But I don't know what. That's what we've got at radio. And so the irony is that the people that have been the nicest to me over the last 10 years have been people in TV and movies.
Right. Everyone's
like
tried to figure out how the fuck to bring you and your magic into TV and movies. You mentioned the animated show.
Yeah.
And you know,
We had some good people. That Sarah Silverman was in that.
You had some amazing, and the greatly gifted people are going to gravitate towards the light that is what you're doing anyways, because as I've been saying throughout, nothing like it exists elsewhere. And so for those of us who try to be original, for those of us who think we can improvise, to see someone do it for 3 hours at a time, at a throw, for so many years, by the way, who doesn't want to try to bring that into this other medium? So when someone like Steve Levitan
did,
yeah, and that's got to drive him crazy because he wants to deliver for you.
I think it did drive Steve. He was very disappointed. He said, "God damn it! I did everything that I thought."
And the animated version seemed perfect.
Yeah, and it was all improv. Here's what happened. I wasn't ready. I came to radio in Los Angeles.
That's a big part.
I was on the air in my hometown, and I still am, and I love being on the air in my hometown, and I love doing a show that people picked up and put national. But when people started calling from TV, I didn't quite, really? Well, I don't understand. You know, what am I going to do on TV? I never wanted to be on TV. I never wanted to be in the movies. I wanted to do the greatest. I always thought doing the greatest radio show I could possibly do would be enough.
Yeah.
Now I find that in this environment, it's not. So all the people from TV and television have been, or TV and movies that have been so sweet to me, have become my best friends. And the cats in radio, man, I don't hear from these motherfuckers.
No, of course not.
Where are they, you know?
Yeah.
I haven't got one fucking radio executive who even follows my ass on Twitter, as far as I know, you know? And if he does, he doesn't have me on his station.
Well, you mentioned
you know?
earlier something about live shows. Are you, in fact, has that been going on, taking the show on stage? And
No, I doing a live remote there's a couple of things. If you're doing phone calls,
and you've got an audience
and
laughing.
you have an
in the
audience laughing,
background.
yeah, you're going to get a whole lot of. It worked really well for us in a small room that we did in Park City, Utah. We went up and did it in a carpeted small room. It worked when we went to the Aspen Comedy Festival, you know,
Right.
because what they did is they put up baffles in front of me. So it was like I was a studio, but they were clear plexiglass so the audience could watch. Most of the time, though, that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And a lot of these stations, oh, put you on do a remote with you, Phil. Well, I'm going to need this. Well, I don't, whoa, now it's getting into money, isn't it? Well, yeah. So we can't do that. So
Why do I laugh so much when you take the piss out of management? I don't know why that's the greatest thrill in the world
These
for me.
guys are
Because who hasn't had a fucking boss that they wanted to set on fire?
Yeah, and why? Because these guys don't understand what we do. All they know is they know what the reward is.
Yeah, they have the football.
Yeah, and it's like Detroit. You know, we're making these trucks. It's great. Gas is going to be $5 a gallon. Does anybody care about that? Oh, bullshit. You know, bullshit. It's like you just pissed on them. You know. And don't start with the gas thing again, Bobby. Don't start with the gasoline. $5 a gallon. Listen to this kid. Morning, noon, and night. What's happening now? Okay. So now radio. what are you guys going to do when you've done squeezing every drop of blood? They used to cash box. You know what that is, the cash box, a radio show? No. The cash box was a machine that pulls out every bit of dead air. Now, there is a thing called timing.
Yes.
If you pulled all the dead air out of John Kennedy's inauguration speech, stop in the country, do for you, but you can't. It somehow doesn't have the dramatic, ring that you need,
Oddly.
So I'm driving home one night. They cash boxed my show. It was a tape because I was still doing afternoons, but they were taped delaying me in L.A. And I thought I was going to cry.
Sure.
I thought I was going to fucking cry, man, because I busted my ass. We did this character. It was really funny. And I'm hearing my voice and I'm talking like this. And there's no.
A machine takes the.
Yeah, it's a cash box. It's a piece of audio process. Doesn't speed you up. So you're not talking like Mickey Mouse.
No.
You're talking like this, but you only sound like you're a guy who's really going to have a problem because you took too much Adderall, and it looks like the heart's going to explode in his chest. And then we'll be right back in just a moment. And here. And I thought and I'm not exaggerating, I thought I was going to pull over and start to weep, like Steve Bozell, one of my characters, just. And the next day I went to David, God bless him. I said, David, they're going to kill me, man.
Yeah.
Well, what happened? I said, they're fucking putting a cash box. He said, well, they get 3 more minutes an hour. 3 more minutes in a fucking unlistenable hour?
Yeah.
So thank God they stopped. If they had said to me, sorry, Phil.
That's the only way we can do it.
You got no more fucking show, man.
You would have had to have left.
Yeah, you got no show. Yeah, you got no show. So.
You mentioned. This is going to kill me now. You mentioned. Fuck. It was Ted Bell.
Ted Bell, Steve Bozell.
Yeah. Steve Bozell, fucking.
He's a guy that cries all the time, and that's another combination of emotions I love. We were talking about the impotent anger.
Yeah.
I also like fear and anger. Those two things together, just what are you talking about? And that is just, and that's Steve Bozell all the way. And he tapped into something I saw as a kid. I used to see there was one kid I knew, Chris Byrne. He was a great kid, but he was always just pissed off and crying too. What are you talking about, man? He had the fucking ball, And I just would look at Chris. He's just like, bullshit, So Steve is all like, okay. So I went to Paris, and I'd had dysfunction problems. My wife knew that. We drive by the Eiffel Tower. Okay, what's that about? All I'm trying to say is there's a big hard, yes, I understand, Ms. Moselle. I don't know why you would take that personally. Well, okay, follow me here. We're talking about me being dysfunctional, and now we land in Paris. So at some point the guy needs a psychiatrist, but until then, we got an hour of radio.
Everything for him was a phallic symbol. That's what I remember. He was intimidated.
Oh, he's pissed off because his neighbor grew a zucchini this big. Now, I saw a zucchini that big because that's what we did the bit, My wife, Maria, had grown a zucchini that big.
Sure.
And I thought...
It happens.
Yeah, so Steve's like, big John Holmes looking thing. And so Roy Hutchins is leaning over and he's talking to my wife and my daughter. Okay, now I want that to just sink in a little bit. And he's got this John Holmes looking thing. What do you mean, John? The zucchini. Oh, it was an overlarge. Yes, sir. Overlarge, And he's all waving it around. And you were just, oh, this poor bastard, And then, of course, the paranoia where he, because this happened to us. I was out on a golf course up in Monrovia or something, and there's a lot of coyotes coming down from the hills. And I'm fucking teeing off in a fairway, and there's a goddamn coyote staring at me, right? So I took that. And we went back, and I wrote this thing where Steve saw a coyote, screamed, and ran around the other side of the thing. Sure. And he was with Roy Hutchins. Well, okay, so I screamed, and I think there's a little bit of streaking. Okay, all right. Guys, he's also got this. Oh boy,
Yeah.
And so anyway, the next morning I see the Federal Express van. So, what does that mean? Well, Hutchins is probably going to send it off to America's Funniest Videos or something. Why has he got the Federal Express van? That automatically means it's going to America's Funniest Videos of him shitting his pants and running away from a coyote.
Yeah.
And this guy is so real. People are, really compelled to call and talk and either calm him down or slap some sense into him.
Or share their own experiences of shitting themselves.
Exactly. Or what happens is this. Steve will piss everybody off, piss everybody off, piss everybody off. Now comes the one lady. You know something? I don't think you've been treated with respect. I really don't. Thank you very much. I really did. And I think all this man needs is for someone to hear him. Well, now the challenge is to piss her off. So,
Sure.
Thank you very much. Now, I just want to say that thank you very much. Could you let me talk now? I heard you, and I want to hear you. Okay. But my wife said to me, so now, by the end of that call, that woman's like, you're up. She's ready to tear into the guy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that anger and fear was, I love that. And all of these characters have the same. Vernon Dozier was a football coach. And I had coaches like this growing up. He says, now, I told my players, my wife is young, all right? She's young and she's good looking. She's 23, 30 years younger, man, I forget. But don't you guys ever even think about it. You understand me? You treat her as a woman. Now, what is this team? It's the Little League team that I'm coaching. And I slipped that one out. But we took a fucking hour. We've taken an hour with this guy weirded out by 12-year-old boys maybe hitting on his wife. And that's even like further to the end of the earth. So.
Oh, God. It's Wayne Fetterman. We have to take this call.
Oh, yeah.
I've been waiting for him to call. Why would my phone not be on vibrate? It's on vibrate every waking hour.
You should have taken it on air.
I know.
And then put it on the speaker.
I wanted to. We had another fan last night that was going on and on about you. And he said, I'm going to call during the show.
Call during the show?
I didn't think he actually would.
Was Brody Stevens there?
Yes.
You saw Brody?
Yeah.
Brody's been on a tear on Twitter talking about a guy.
Right.
Oh, he's tearing ass on Twitter.
And I saw you actually hitting something about...
he was on TMZ.
Right.
Yeah, he's kicking some ass over there. So he's very funny. He's like, he was just doing this whole, the whole industry can stick it up their ass now because I'm back, hashtagging shit all over the place.
Yeah.
But that was the thing. And the people in the movie business or the TV business or comics.
Right.
Which, it blows me away, man. I don't do stand-up. I would never get on a stage and do stand-up. If you could kill me, because I can't deal with that. I can't deal with it.
Are you self-taught in terms of the improvisation?
Yeah.
Because radio didn't teach you really too much about improvising.
No,
when you've
all.
got a program director telling you, say less.
Say less.
Spin
Play the
more.
records, play the music.
Yeah.
We had guys coming up that just hated any idea.
So who the fuck is teaching you how to improvise? I mean, you're watching Jonathan Winters as a kid. You're studying some of the greats.
Watching Lenny Bruce big time.
Right. Carlin.
Later. And any of the troops, such as the committee or...
Firesign Theater must have...
Firesign Theater was huge.
You must have loved it.
And Credibility Gap. Credibility Gap used to be a 5-minute newscast here in L.A. I don't know if you talked to Harry about any of that.
Michael McKean, by the way, says hello.
He's a great guy.
Huge, crazy fan.
But those cats were a newscast. And now the KRLA News. And they're going into a sketch.
Yeah.
So I listened to them, and I've just forced it out of myself.
But did it ever dawn on you to maybe try your hand at that on stage doing improv as opposed to stand-up, to join one of these groups?
I took a class.
Take it outside the station.
I took an improv class at the Groundlings.
Did you?
Conan O'Brien was in my class, and Alana Stewart and Cynthia Stevenson, some people who, Alana Stewart was married to Rod Stewart, so I don't, does that count?
She was there to tell people that.
Yeah, and so I took this improv class, and then I just sort of dropped out of it because it was a class and I wanted to do, and I didn't quite know how to. It took me, Kevin, getting fired from my job at KLSX when it was a music station and literally having nowhere else to go.
Right.
I had nowhere to go, man. I was 37 years old. I'm not going to play classic rock. It ain't going to happen, I'm not going to be an oldies jock, and nobody's going to mistake me for the legend of like Scott Muni when Scott went out. He's big time New York disc jockey who could work until he was 70.
Right.
He could play Blue Oyster Cult at 75.
Yeah.
And it was credible
Holy
because
shit.
Scott was the guy, I'm Scott Muni, and here's another one from Black Oyster Priest on the thing. So
Who's the guy on Sirius that talks through the fucking song every time?
Oh, the guy, he's on 60s on 6.
60s on 6.
I can't.
Oh, is it Cousin Brucey?
Yes.
Holy fuck, shut up and let
Yes.
the music play.
WABC
He talks
guy.
through every song.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
So I said, talk radio was starting to take off because of Rush. I said, that's what I got to do. I got to do that. I'm going to do that.
And spin it like a fucking dreidel.
And I'm going to go in, I'm just going to roll it. Yeah. And so I went in, my first gig up here at KVEN, and just started talking about shit and going in and out of character, but not really knowing what I was doing.
How long before you worked yourself up with enough confidence to try it the first time? You must have been working it through your thoughts for...
Well, actually, it happened like this, man. I had been doing, the Gulf War, and it's built up to the Gulf War and everything, and then I went home one night and I heard a former disc jockey on KBC named Billy Pearl, who now was Bill Pearl.
Sure.
And Billy was doing a serious piece where he was reading questions and then answering through a filter as Saddam Hussein. But he wasn't changing his voice. He was simply giving us two characters. I don't know what it was like. And why did you rape and pillage? Because I needed the money or something. But it wasn't funny. I thought, what if I had an Iraqi come on and host the show? You know, basically what he's doing there is talking to Saddam Hussein. Why don't I actually be? But I won't be Saddam Hussein. I can't be. No one's going to buy that. And also, that's not funny to me. What's funny is reality. The closest thing to reality you can get.
Well, that's just it. What he was doing was instantly letting you know it was horseshit.
Exactly.
As opposed to, can I actually convince the audience that this is a guest of mine?
This is a guest of mine.
That's the part that still blows my mind, that hadn't ever really been done prior.
Well, I never thought that it would go to this as it did the next day when I went on.
How could you?
And I'm talking like this, and there's Greg, my engineer, going, what? These people want to talk to the Iraqi. I said, put them through, you know. Hello, and I, you know, you want it to sound like a real guy. This is the KVEN, the KVEN. What, you know, I don't know how you say it's KVEN. Okay, KVEN, hello. Yeah, is this the man that I'm hearing on the radio? I don't know, what station? KVEN, yes. And thus it began. And thus we took it and said, well, let's do another character. But I really was spreading it out. The next one I tried was Margaret. She was I can't even, because of this cold I have, you know, but she was on the air. And my God, the man you had on just a moment ago, Phil, was terribly exciting. Oh God, you know. Yeah, it was really disgusting.
Got excited.
Yeah, just some guy who says, well, thank you very much, Mr. Hendrie. You're welcome. Oh God. So
she wanted to sleep with all.
Yeah, and you know, Phil, when those men are up there fighting the fires, you hear them flying over in their choppers. And can we cue that, Eddie? You know, who's Eddie and what is the thing she has? But now you hear this.
What was she saying?
What the fuck? You hear this. Oh God, here it is, here it is. Here it is, you know, and it spews water, almost like it's a freaking ejaculation. Just, oh God, you know.
Yeah.
So all of that was the most grotesque aspects of womanhood. That I say this with great love and respect.
Of course.
That I learned from my mother. Now, I did, you know, that kind of, I don't know. It's very.
Well, that's
I
where.
think it's the part of my life that I, you know, will look at and try to get the fear, man. There was a lot of fear there for me, you know, being around a really controlling mother like that. So,
well, that's just it, though. It represented a certain freedom that hadn't been offered to you professionally.
Right.
You took it upon yourself to create this world,
Yeah.
and I imagine the PD at the time is saying, seriously, what the fuck are you doing? And it's got to stop.
Actually, at that time at KVEN was a guy named Rich Galano, who is another guy that I give full credit to. Rich
Instantly thought it was great.
thought it was a riot.
Wow.
He said to me, Rich was the first guy to say to me, prep your show as if you're not going to get one phone call. 3 hours of you and whatever you are. Do it, man. And we'll pick, he says, as long as you have a point. And Rich was absolutely, if you have a point, man, everything's good. Why did Geraldine Ferraro get in trouble for saying people are voting for him because he's black? She didn't know what her point was. She did not know what it was. She was probably right in some ways. But she couldn't articulate it.
Your point can't be that you're right.
Yeah, you got to articulate your point. She didn't have a point. And I find what happened to Don Imus? When he said nappy-headed hoe, he had no answer. He didn't know what the point of that comment was, and that's why he couldn't defend himself.
Right.
If there's nothing else I do on the radio, man, I know what I'm saying and I can defend it. It may not be funny, it may be a lot of things, but I can defend it on the surface. Just here's why we did it.
Yeah.
Here's the point of the bit. So even if I have Herb Sewell, and you know, we have I was in Saskatoon. I got electroshock and insulin shock. Dr. Suffolk, very diabolical, very sadistic, but a man that helped me eventually. You know, eventually. Well, why do you have this guy on the air, Phil? It's because he's the face of a certain kind of evil.
Yeah.
Well, is that funny? Yeah, the people are fucking laughing.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
there's a reason you didn't hear many Hitler jokes, but as soon as you heard the first truly funny Hitler joke,
you laughed.
I think Barry Martyr was the first comedian I ever heard do a
Hitler joke.
Well, he just said there's certain topics you can't really make jokes about, you know.
Well, you know Carlin's answer to that.
Cancer and Hitler, I think, was one of them. Hitler you know, he got not a great deal of opportunity in the dessert world the way that Napoleon did, let's say. You never heard anyone in a diner say, "Give me a cup of coffee and a cheese Hitler." So it wasn't a joke about atrocities. It wasn't a joke about anything other than the absurd sound
of that name, juxtapose. Yeah. Well, you know, George Carlin says, you know, you don't think rape can be funny? Bullshit. Imagine Porky Pig raping Elmer Fudd. Okay.
Now you got funny.
Now you got funny. Yeah. So,
that was Dana's thing with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas. All right, I'm gonna fuck you now. Put it inside me. You know, it's so absurd. It's on his first special. Go find it.
So the goal then, I guess, is not because you get up in the morning wanting to piss people off. I never do that. I never get up in the morning and say I want to shock, I want to piss people off. No, I get up in the morning. How can we have fun tonight? How can we be funny? What's funny out there right now? And let's do it. You know. And
well, the freedom comes from having that not inform your decisions on what you're going to do. As in, it's not a part of your mandate, but it's also not a part of your editing process.
Right. I'm not going to.
You know, you can. The quick way of saying it is I don't give a fuck. But the truth of the matter is, you've made these creative decisions.
Yeah.
It's not going to. This is not why I'm doing it, nor will I edit myself because of it.
Right, and then you also have that whole thing you're doing. Then you have to deal with your radio crew that you're training, because most of these cats are coming from a radio orientation, and that means there isn't any real creativity. It's all about news talk. What do you mean, Phil, it's not in character? I mean, my character would never say that. When you guys want me to have the character, he would say, you know, Steve Bozell would never be looking at little girls in their panties. That's not Steve. He's he's definitely afraid of being arrested for anything like that. Although we get away with this one. You know, I dropped my daughter off at school, and they have these little girls going in. Yeah, I've probably seen this, Phil, in 3rd, 4th graders. They're all dressed up. I think it's terrible, and I've said so. You mean they're dressed in little dance skins? Yes. And they're doing some kind of, dance. And of course, I'm driving by, and you're going to slow down naturally, and just kind of lean in and just, So I don't like the way that, wait a minute, man, what the fuck you say? And so the audience is picking up on it too.
Right.
Well, wait a minute, man, you sound pervert. I'm no pervert. No way. I'm saying I want to point out, look, if you're driving by, you're a man. Yeah, I'm a man, okay. You drive by and see something like that, well, naturally you're going to slow it up. I said, man, what the fuck? So how do you get away with that? Well, you get away with it because
you're not.
The guys have got that somewhere in the darkness of their heads. Some people, and it's.
But you're not. The great thing is that you're not coming out in your own voice and saying, "Isn't it hilarious that there are pedophiles out there? Isn't that fucking hilarious?
Isn't that funny?" No,
as opposed to, here's some monsters that I'm going to give a face to, and their ignorance of their situation is going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
Their suggestion in their minds that you can relate to this, right? When the girls are walking, this makes sense to you too, right? Well, no.
No, it doesn't.
You're
man.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But especially with you saying it to me, Phil.
The beauty of that as an invention, as a comedic invention, this is why you're getting the fans that you are, who actually have spent their lives trying
creating
to do something funny. Yeah.
Well, that's been one of the great things, because, like I said,
Harry Shearer. I mean,
Harry's been a great friend.
Matt Groening
has
been. He's put you on The Simpsons a couple of times.
Yeah, and Matt even recorded my first shows at KFI, and said to me, he said, "I got 2 years worth of analog tapes of your shows. You want them?" I go, "Yeah, okay, come and get them, man. They're in my garage. I got all these tapes, So I don't know if Matt's watching, but I do. He's probably, I don't know if they degoused all of them or something, but the thing that's frustrating is that these are, and I appreciate having those guys in my corner. I wish I had the radio world,
right?
And to put that much work into something, and to break your ass, and then to have your work treated like it's just another toy in the stock room, it's really mind-blowing. But the frustrating part isn't so much that, it's that I got to train these kids. So I'll say, my character wouldn't do that. Here's what we have to do.
Right.
Here's why it's important that the EQ and the sound effects beds. Why? Because it has to sound like a real phone call.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just put it through a filter? No, another thing you do is just turn down EQ. No, I'm not turning any EQ down, man. I'm not rolling a high end off. I want it to sound like a fucking phone. Okay? Well, we're gonna need a phone box. So the shit that I gotta do, and these guys just wanted to have a Dixie cup and a string and just go,
Hi, is Phil there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
No, that's not what we do. You know, I have things in there where, and excuse me, Phil, I got to turn this down. I'll just do little things like there's a radio up. It adds to the reality because then it's just hysterical.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing that caught me in the beginning too.
Yeah.
In the background, while
stuff
people
going
would
on.
call in,
Yeah.
or a couple of times when you would, like I said, do that third party. You'd have you'd be the guest, and then someone would call in. In the background, you'd have a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Something Bobby Dooley, I think, would have that sometimes. Yeah. To create this sense of reality.
Well, one time she was at the amusement park and Steve was on a roller coaster. I don't know why we did that, but we just had this roller coaster. So we'd hear this, yay, you know.
Yeah.
Like every 5 seconds you'd hear
Right.
that. All of that it creates that reality that's.
But how much fun to have the radio play above and beyond the point of view?
Yeah.
You know, to have an actual story being told above and beyond the improvisation.
You got an art, you got a story right there, man. Yeah, man. And it's really not tough to do if you love the medium and you are an entertainer. To the extent that Rush does creative radio, I have to give him kudos for all the things that he brought in to talk radio. Those guys weren't doing the homeless update, all those ridiculous things, you know.
Right.
We talk about the great ones, you know. It was anybody that took the medium and created a world, you know, like Wolfman Jack. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But, dude, I don't know if radio will survive unless we have the podcasts and the other things that are happening on the internet.
Well, people go to philhendrieshow.com.
Right.
Right? That's
Yeah.
where the entire world exists. I think we put together a little screenshot. I don't know if the guys want to. There it is. Go to the website. Enjoy the picture from the late 60s.
That picture there is actually me driving to the studio today. I took it with the phone.
Oh, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then scrolling down, I think there's one of you, or maybe not, I don't know. But
Well, there it is announcing about the chat show. Headed
Yeah.
over there to the chat show.
Yeah.
But all the blogs from your characters, there's Bobby's
we got
blog.
a Bobby blog and we have a Steve Bozell blog.
Yeah.
And we have archives. There's just an update, our video cast from last night's KFI show. In the upper right are all the last 5 days of video casts and radio shows.
Recent shows.
Then
it
there's
says.
recent shows.
It's still syndicated terrestrial nationwide,
Yeah,
right?
about 150 stations.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, that's amazing.
Well, it's...
No, it is. It's ridiculous.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll
I mean,
stop
as
complaining.
numbers go.
I was very disappointed.
That's
in that.
you must be.
I
You
wanted to,
300 at least.
We do.
But people can subscribe to the website
And you subscribe to the
have
website.
access to the entire library that now dates back.
1997.
Jesus.
And really, some of it should go even before that. But here's the thing that's happening that's really interesting, and this is what really pisses me off, man. I own my material.
Sure.
Now I'm at the NAB in Las Vegas, National Association of Broadcasters. The NAB is not like the R&R or the NTS Media, which is a bunch of talent. This is the guys that own stations. These are the heavies. These are suits. Everything is produced beautifully, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm there, and I did a little improv on stage, which, you know, everyone thought was great. They thought it was funny. Thought it was fantastic. Will any of these guys take a shot and put me on their show, on their stations? Now I'm on KFMB. I'm on some good sticks, but when I got a guy who runs ABC in San Francisco telling me how great I am,
But he won't.
but I'm
know.
fucking tape delayed on another station, you know. So this guy walks up to me. Hi, Phil. I'm Bob Burlingame, or whatever the hell, and I own the Southern Broadcast Syndication. How do you do? Hey, nice to meet you, sir. I got 35 stations. Okay, so I'm not chicken shit, huh? And I have been loving your podcasts. Oh, really? What podcasts are those? Well, the podcasts on the iTunes. No, those aren't mine. Those are being bootlegged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I subscribe. Oh, isn't that nice? So you're a member of the NAB talking to a guy that makes his living, and you subscribe to a bootleg piece of material.
Wow.
Now, if you're a National Association of broadcaster, shouldn't you be aware of these issues?
Yeah.
They're not. They haven't got a fucking clue. Here's a guy that's on the board, and this is material. I make my living this way, man.
Sure.
And here's this guy patronizing bootleg shit. So people wonder why I'm in the middle of that fight, man.
Right.
And they wonder, what are you being such an asshole for? I mean, why can't I just go and listen to it for free and shit? Because, dude, I own the material. I don't know how to say this to you. It's a copyright. Oh, bullshit.
Yeah.
Internet freedom.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And wait till you find as your material, if you want to retain control over, and I'm sure you do, of these chat shows and everything else.
Right.
Wait till you get some little nebbish out there who's like seeding it on torrent sites all over the world.
Yeah.
trying to maliciously make it worthless.
Right.
Which, like, what did I ever do to you, kid?
Right.
The
No.
mere fact you're telling me I can't do it, that's pissing me off.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
No. The basic knowledge and frame of thought is get yourself a sponsor.
Yeah.
Offer it up for free. Otherwise, go fuck yourself.
And it's, you know what? That's probably the way to go.
Well,
Eventually. I
the
mean,
initial design,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you of all people can appreciate, was 1950s television. I mean, let Texaco be the hour,
Yeah.
and everyone else gets to tune in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're all so fucking slow still to come to the realization that there are, what was it? It was well over $1 billion in the first half of 2011 in advertising dollars spent online.
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 See, I mean, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, those are real numbers when we're getting out to the numbers.
Well, I mean, I would love to have some, and I was talking outside with one of the guys. I said, why isn't there a brokerage, some sort of a large national sales team that can handle all these sites?
Right.
Kevin's, Phil's, whoever.
Yeah. There's a couple that are starting to make great headway.
Yeah.
Podcasts. PodTrack, I think, is that?
I've heard of those guys.
Yeah.
They do an Adam show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they do This American Life, and they do, I think, some stuff with Leo Laporte.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
But who would think, after all these years
Yeah.
of inventing your particular wheel, that they're still having to catch up with you on how to market and sponsor the show and get it out there?
In radio.
Yeah.
In radio. That's the sad thing. Because my show is ready-made for, you can sell a Margaret Gray hour. You can sell little things that, I hate to say, I don't want to sound, but, management has never really been taken to task in radio. They've always, for
Never.
60 years, they blamed the talent. Well, if it sometimes worked, the talent sucks. Sometimes worked, the talent. The fact of the matter is, we got a talent problem in radio. It has to do with management and programmers,
Right.
and salespeople, and they're not doing the job. And so, I don't want to keep screaming about it and beating my head against the wall.
At some point, you just got to keep doing what you're doing.
Just keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully.
And for the millions of people who are enjoying what you're doing, if they want access to all of it,
they're going to have to pay me a lot of money. And,
but not a lot.
I don't care.
Yeah, $6,
Well,
$7.
I might up the price.
Yeah.
No,
Is that an annual pass? The
That's
$6 or $7?
that's a monthly.
Uh-huh.
And then you get like a $59.95 for 6 months, and
Right.
when we do a thing for a year.
Right.
But I.
So $7 for the month, 30 days. You're asking them for how many cents a day?
It's not a lot of bread.
It's either listen to you and laugh your ass off,
Mm-hmm.
or give them money to Sally Struthers and she feeds some.
And you'll get cancer too, because you're going to be worrying about, is the money going to save somebody? And Sally Struthers.
Your show is cancer-free, is what you're saying.
I believe that I believe laughter cures, and I'm being serious. It does help. It heals people.
Yes,
Laughing.
It does. The doctor with the he went out there and proved it. I think. Yeah.
I got a call. It was the first time ever in my life I got a call like this. The guy said, I was in Minneapolis. He said, my wife came out of her coma laughing at your show. I said, she came out of her coma?
Jesus.
He said, my wife was in a coma for 3 weeks. He said, she came out of the coma laughing at your radio show.
Right.
And, that was kind of a meaningful thing. I'm thinking, well, laughter is a curative. It's an endorphin.
Right.
I mean, why not? I was in a really bad state of depression in the early 80s. The only thing that made me laugh were Laurel and Hardy movies. I mean, I had to go back to my childhood and watch Laurel and Hardy movies to get myself. I don't know what it is about being trying to be funny. You also are depressed. You have anger issues.
Sure.
Well,
listen.
What the fuck?
If you're going to be original and you're going to be creative, there's going to be a couple of demons who want to pay rent.
Yeah, I guess.
Some point.
I guess.
Yeah, there's no way around it.
KP, I just sent you a text.
Did you?
From Wayne Fetterman,
Please.
who had a couple of questions for our guests. So he's texted them to me, and I've just
You
sent it on
forward
to
them?
you.
Because he
Forwarded
didn't want
the
to
text
call
on to
again.
you.
Okay. Please, this is another way to enjoy the year of 2011. The questions are coming in every way possible, Phil. We're now getting a text question. This one coming to you from across town via the texting device known as the iPhone. Character that you love that didn't click with the audience. There must have been a couple, oh my God, over the years. I mean, you have such a stable that grows and grows and grows, but along the way, certainly you hit some bumps of, this will be fun, and in the audience, your true fans must have said, you know what, let's bring back the pedophile because
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That
Yeah. Pedophile's funny compared to that.
It's always a wonderful comparison.
Oh, I think the character that I did, it wasn't a character, it was a sketch of a minor league football team called the Chattanooga Choo-Choos.
Sure.
And and all it was a coach and the owner of the team, and she was an elderly woman, and naturally the general manager is her know-it-all son.
Right.
The husband died, who's the brains, like the Carol Rosenblum model, and now she's elderly, and here's the coach. What can I do for you today, Mrs. Brown? And she's, well, why don't we win? I want to be in the playoffs. I've heard about the playoffs. Is that right? Yeah, we should need to be in the playoffs. Yeah, well, the quarterback fractured his skull. Did you saw the play, right? Well, I didn't know. Yeah, that was what happened out there with the ambulance. So he's fractured. Well, get another quarterback. Love to get another quarterback. Need money. Money. So it was the slow burn, which is also fucking hysterical, and the slow burn of the coach and the nattering. It was a sports thing. I had fun with it, but the audience just was like,
Yeah.
probably it was because it wasn't the traditional way that I present a character.
How about we win?
Sketch.
She said. The owner of the team.
Why don't we win? That way we go to the, what is it?
The playoffs.
To the playoffs. What about those?
Yeah, we have to go to the playoffs.
Okay.
Who did you like on radio as a kid? Another great question.
Yeah.
We talked about the records. We talked about the comedians. Maybe you saw some on TV, but they're. You met. You know what? Off the air, you mentioned before we went on about Larry King and some of the stuff that he was doing when he first started out in Miami.
Miami. Well, Larry was not. I can't say he was an influence, but I certainly. Into my 20s when I first heard Larry, I thought this guy is a great overnight radio show. But Larry was in Miami at WIOD. I was also at WIOD years later in the 90s. Larry was there in the 70s and was arrested. And
You kept his picture.
Yeah, our midday host was Neil Rogers. Neil is one of the most brilliant radio talent in the history of the world, and he passed on last December. But Neil would say, I'm one of the few guys left in Miami that knows what a piece of shit Larry is. Now, he would, and Larry will tell you, Neil Rogers is the worst talk radio I've ever heard in my life. So I actually put Larry King on the air. He thought he was talking to the general manager of WIOD, Bob Green.
Right.
And Larry, and I'll give you that story later, but we had his mugshot because we'd found it. So there was Larry's mugshot from kind of a check or some shit. I don't know what happened, but Larry King had been on, Don Shula had been on Larry King the night before saying that, well, the Miami Dolphins are having a hard time, which they were. Well, you've been taking a hard bunch of hits from my old station down there, WIOD. Well, they were entitled to their opinion, but blah, 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 blah. So I got from Cheryl, our executive secretary, Larry's home number.
Hi, Larry. Bob Green.
Yeah, Bob.
Listen, you said some pretty tough things. I'd like to have you on the Phil Hendrie Show. We can talk it over.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. So that Monday, Larry comes on.
Hi, Larry, I wanted you on because you had said some things that
I thought were very hurtful. And he's like, what, are you going to cry? You're crying, is that it? Why don't you go on Neil Rogers and cry with him? I can't believe this, And then the thing that almost got him to hang up was, I've done charity work all over this city.
You raise any money?
Oh, okay, goodbye, Bob. No, goodbye, Phil. Goodbye, Bob.
Wow.
So, of course, it's kind of a legendary little clip from Miami days because I was just giving Larry a little bit of a hard time. He's a very myopic guy, and by that I mean he can't really see that he's being put on because he's like really Larry King,
Right. So were there any radio legends when you were younger? That
when I was growing up in Los Angeles, we had a guy named Bob Hudson, Emperor Hudson, on KRLA, and he was terrific. He was a top 40 disc jockey, but he did a morning show as an emperor. And I'm in the leopard skin room. I saw the leopard skin room. I saw Rosie putting grapes in his mouth.
Right.
I saw all of this
in your head.
In my head. And get off the freeway, peasants. His Highness is coming. This shit. And when I rode my little bicycle over there, and I saw a guy in bedroom slippers and a sweatshirt.
Right.
I wasn't
smoking Pall Mall.
Smoking a Pall Mall. I wasn't depressed. I was impressed. I was like, that's great.
He created this world from nothing.
Yeah. So Bob Hudson was one. The disc jockeys on the old KGO, KBCA, the jazz station, Jim Gosa and Chuck Niles, just for their personable approach. Chuck Niles is the ultimate jazz jock. Chuck Niles here on KGO. And I know New York likes their jazz scene. I get a little galled hearing about New York. Let me tell you about LA's jazz scene. And Chuck was very knowledgeable about LA jazz. And Tolly Strode. You know an actor named Woody Strode? You ever heard of Woody Strode?
Yeah.
Tolly's his cousin. Tolly Strode, 105. We're changing lanes at 105. Slow traffic to the right.
Nice.
Yeah, and he'd he said, remember the 3 essentials in life: eat, sleep, and be discreet. And, you know,
Wow.
just shit like it's like, you know, and remember, only fools build monuments of nothing. In my book, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. Check yours out. See if it don't come out the same later, baby. So this was Tolly Strode. And I met him. I wanted to meet him because he had this rap. He played great jazz. And I go down to the Southgate Palace to see the CTI Summer Jazz Series. And there's Tolly. And I'm like,
White guy looks like Wally Cox.
no, he's a black guy. In fact, everybody there is black except me and my white friends. You know, we're in from Temple City. You know, this is really swell. You know, and we don't give a shit. We're ordering drinks at 17, and they're serving them up.
Sure.
And so I go to, hey, Mr. Strode. I go, that's Tolly Strode. Hey, Mr. Strode, hi, I really like your show. You know, I think it's a damn shame. Because I said to him, when's the band going to come out? Because they were late coming out. I think it's a damn shame you young jazz fans come all the way down here. And he had his arm around me. He was really playing it up, man, like, you know, meeting the fans. I just thought he was great.
Yeah. Oh,
and
God,
Tolly
yeah.
Strode was, and so KBCA had a big influence on me, the jazz station. And then just the classic guys like Johnny Magnus on KMPC. Johnny Magnus here. Johnny was from Germany.
Jesus.
He was from Germany, but he was a long-time LA, what we used to call middle of the road. He played Frank Sinatra. So you had to be cool, baby. This was the time when Frank and those cats were cool. And I'm just a 9 or 10, but I'm listening to Johnny Magnus here on KMPC 710, baby. And there's Frank Sinatra. Oh, yeah. You know, the guy's whole pitch was like some dude with some sort of a beautiful penthouse suite overlooking a freeway and you know, total LA.
Right.
And then Credibility Gap, and then Firesign Theater. I have to say, anybody that did theater or made me see something.
Theater of the mind, yeah.
Yeah. And the real Don Steele was great. He was a cat who could do 30 seconds of material because Boss Radio, they demanded that.
Right.
Don Steele could get in. You know the song Good Lovin' by the Rascals? 1, 2, 3, good. In that 1, 2, 3, he could say, Real Don Steele, KC Los Angeles. He'd get the ID in his name.
Oh, fuck.
So just that kind of timing, man, it was just brilliant, you know. So those are the guys, and for me, it was all about performance and timing, making everything tight, and make sure everything was like a well-oiled jukebox. And so that when you're on the radio, and I believe we have an obligation at the national level, man,
Right.
to have everything just fucking tight, man, have everything just sounding good. And I lose my fucking mind, and I've lost my mind on the videocasts when we have sloppy engineering, if we have shitty sound effects. And it sounds like I'm trying to excuse my behavior. I'm not.
Oh,
because
no. You don't have to do that. But how often is the video cast?
Every night.
It is
3
every
hours,
night.
every night. And there have been nights when I will just be, you know, I can't take it. You know, what the fuck were you doing, man? You know, I don't know. I just, you know. So poor Jace.
Well, when you're flying,
you're flying, man. It's
at
reality
the seat
TV.
of your pants,
Yeah.
and you are soaring
Yeah.
literally at a certain altitude. Sometimes you get a little wookie up
Oh,
there.
dude.
Yeah.
I get really crazy, but never, I don't think. Well, maybe I think there may be some tapes of my Casey Kasem moments, you know, and a goddamn dead dog dedication, that kind of thing. I think I've got 1 or 2 of those out there.
Possibly.
But, yeah, you know, whatever. But
Whatever.
yeah, I don't give a shit. One of the great things about doing a webcast is I don't think contractually they can keep me from saying what I want to say on the webcast.
Right.
So I'm like, and this fucking company. And those guys are back in D.C. What are they doing? Pulling their fucking dicks over that fucking all news format? You know, just.
Yeah.
But I hate broadcasters that have gold in hand, but because they're too stupid to know what to do with it, they go and they try to regenerate the latest phase now. And I think Randy Michaels is going to be good because Randy's a former programmer who went to the CEO level. Very rare that a disc jockey makes it all the way to CEO. Randy is experimenting now with FM news. He wants to relax it, and maybe it'll work. But this all news thing is not kicking off.
Right.
But these guys are doing what's called the Westinghouse variety. You've heard Westinghouse? Dun, 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 dun. Westinghouse news. In 20 minutes, the weather. In 5, sports. You're there? Good. You're not? Fuck it. Now, you know, and they got the, you know, headlines at the top of the Los Angeles. A goat. You think that the apocalypse is hitting? A goat wandering in the fast lane. You know, and now sports with Randy Cardoon or whatever the guy's got that name. He's on KNX. The Angels top one off last night, and what is the guy with the big midget head? And he said, and the bowling's coming back. And so, but if 5 minutes in, you're just, you know, sitting off the side of the freeway, ready to just take the back of your head out, man, because
So FM news sounds a little...
FM news may be just a little more conversational. It might be, take your time with a story.
Yeah.
Get
back to Carlin's hippy dippy weatherman.
Yeah,
man, the weather's good.
It's going to be beautiful, Say now, or Lenny Bruce is great, sniffing airplane glue.
Yeah.
Say now, what a nutty place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that whole and so I heard this thing that these cats were experimenting with back in D.C. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding! It's even worse.
Right.
It's even worse. It's just America's morning news. So they don't have any money. They're not making any money. The companies are not worth any money. Right. Something's wrong here, man, because everybody listens to the radio.
Right. Well, there you go. That's exactly right.
Yeah, yeah.
And thank God for your local, rather loyal following that grows exponentially.
We hope, man.
Yeah, no. Well, that's what we all hope. Larry David, I love the coming out and seeing you at the Aspen Comedy Festival.
Larry David
turns to Jeff Garland and says, "He's a fucking genius."
I thought that was great to see him there.
Yeah.
I saw so many people, man. Michael and Harry Shearer. Harry's been a terrific friend, and Harry is such a brilliant guy in a lot of ways. He's real politically.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, I would never want to get into with Harry on politics and shit, but funny motherfucker too,
He'll be here in a couple of weeks.
Is he?
I'm absurd. 3 weeks from today. I'm absurdly proud to say. Yeah, and also, what he's been doing on his own weekly morning show for the last many years.
Le Show?
Yeah. A tremendous creation, and also a point of view.
Yep.
A point of view.
A point of view. And
agree with it or not, it's a point of view. That's very.
But see, now there's a guy that ought to be on every day in a much bigger station. But I probably, Harry would rather be on a small station like that and not have to deal with all of the bullshit. But
yeah, well, he also has Simpsons money, so he's not going to.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was like, boy, Harry, how can we get him more money?
How can we get him out of the pool?
Yeah, how can we
and into the studio?
Get him out of the pool.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, man. But
you know what? He's also, I know for a fact, invested greatly in internet original programming. My Damn Channel, I know he's been a huge.
He was one of the first guys on there.
And believer and financer of.
That is a model that I think is a good model.
It's pretty exciting.
You take the show, you take the pilot.
Right.
You go, anybody want to buy it?
Right.
Yeah, okay, great. Let's go ahead and order it. Instead of the other goofy way, which is let's make an order, let's order up a series, and then hope we can sell it.
Right.
Why not the other way? And that's what's happening on the internet. And plus, you're not constrained by time. I don't know. I guess maybe internet radio. Once it becomes so fully mobile that you can get it anywhere, that it's going to be a real serious challenge.
Well, there's no stopping it.
Yeah.
From becoming fully mobile.
Yeah.
Well, the future is here. It's just
unless there's some conspiracy afoot,
well, let's hope.
Yeah.
Because then there's something to make.
Satellite radio is an interesting thing. Satellite radio, Sirius XM. Mel Karmazin bought Sirius, or bought in, or managed it, and said, "I can't outcompete XM. Why don't we buy it?" All right. Now, this is the thing that pisses me off more than anything else. If you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to. And I'm not saying that Mel, in hiring Howard, made a mistake. That's the only smart thing he ever did.
Sure.
That I can see, because what he did was essentially say this: I couldn't program my way out of a wet paper fucking bag, and on top of that, I've spent all this goddamn money on people that are not radio talent. Let's buy XM. Let's buy it a month before the economy melts down, and we'll owe $500 million. All right.
Nice
so
work.
This is beautiful, man. And so by the end of the year, they're ready to oust his ass.
Right.
His number one talent is suing him.
Sure.
They're still fudging their fucking numbers. I don't know, what he did that was so great, other than drive a lot of people out of jobs, cut down on the competition in satellite, and what's left is dog shit.
Yeah.
And Bubba, my buddy Bubba the Love Sponge, gone. Opie and Anthony are on there every day complaining about what a cheap shit operation it is.
Yeah.
Howard's suing.
Right.
It don't get much worse than that.
Yeah.
And so we have broadcast executives and owners who need to be moved out.
Well, that's why I think at some point everyone goes independent. They create their own little hubs, and the audience will find you.
And let somebody distribute it, but they don't have anything to do with programming it.
Exactly.
And producing
distribution only.
Right. We sound like we're in the mafia, don't we? Distribute. This is my idea. Trucks from Canada, see? I don't need any of this other bullshit. I don't want on them.
Hey, if it worked for the Kennedys, it can work for you too. Let's bootleg down, baby. I can't thank you enough,
Thank
honest
you very
to
much,
God,
man.
for spending the last 2.5 hours with us.
2.5?
I'm just saying it happened. You were warned about, I believe, about the Larry King game. We like to wrap things
Yes.
up here. This is your camera. Take your time. Gather your thoughts. Again, I'll go over the basic outline.
Okay.
We're looking for the moment where Larry does a little bumper before he throws it to the phones and shares one of those King's things about himself, his life, his days with the dinosaurs, whatever it is, really. You can go anywhere with this. But it's something that none of us really needed to know. And Larry just felt the need to share it. That's actually the moment before you throw it to the phone and the name of the city, if it's funny sounding,
Right.
that doesn't hurt.
Right. Hi, Larry King here. And, Dukes with Caesar salad tonight. Dukes, Caesar salad. I don't want to have that insect that I saw last night, and saw a water bug or something. I shouldn't talk about that. But Dukes, Caesar salad, delicious. Later on tonight, when we get off the Caesar salad, I don't care about anything else. I don't really want to talk to you. I don't know. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting in my own filth right now, in a diaper, and that's not my problem. And of course, you have to live with these things. I've been in broadcasting 40 years. So sitting in your own filth is part of the game. Dukes with a water bug and a Caesar salad. Jesus Christ. Walcott, Iowa.
Yeah, man.
Larry's gonna. Very funny. Very funny, Henry.
Yeah, that's what he'll say.
I did. I walked up to him once and said, Larry, you don't remember me? I did the Bob Green bit. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's real funny.
Thank you.
Hey, brother,
Honest to
thanks
God.
so much, Kevin. Thanks for having me in, man. It's
Been
an honor. It's an honor.
a big fan for a while, and this meant
Thank
the
you.
world to me. And honest to goodness,
Well-
please come back and see us again.
I will, man. I will.
And I'll be listening. So, God bless you for continuing. and as an independent, especially for those of us who want to join the circus, it's pretty fucking inspiring.
Well, you got a great show here, man.
Well-
you know, and this is unique. This
Yeah.
is your creation, because everyone's on the internet doing clown noses, and here's Kevin with just
Just a couple hours of conversation.
Let's talk. Yeah, I think you're funny, huh? Well, we're going to find out. So, no, it's great. It's so watchable, so entertaining.
Oh, thanks, man.
The Peter Weller was fantastic, and I didn't think I was going to sit and watch Peter Weller. I
know,
was
right?
RoboCop, but I mean, that fucking guy. I found out shit about Peter Weller and
Right?
the kind of guy that he is,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Terrific guy. And so, what do I see on TV? Peter Weller on History International. I got to watch that.
Yes.
And he was doing a thing on History International
Yeah.
about the Middle Ages. So it's fantastic. So congratulations.
Yeah,
to you.
and we thought instead of doing 6 minutes with everyone, we would stretch it out to 3 hours and 6 minutes.
Well, it's a lot out of your day, though, man. You know, and everything else. It's on your Sunday, but I mean, I really appreciate it. It's like I said, it's eminently watchable. It's fantastic.
Well,
So-
it means the world to me to hear you say that. Thank you so
All right,
much. Sit there uncomfortably while I wrap things
will.
up for the folks at home. I want to thank again the fine folks who launched this particular shuttle. You got your Dr. Chen here within the hallowed walls. Your Sammy, Last Minute Levine, and Jamie Foxx without an Oscar. And outside the walls, we've got, of course, our fearless director, Michael Rotman, with shorter hair and half a beard.
It makes him look like he lost weight.
It does.
It really does. He
Well,
looks
and
like,
he had technically
he looks
lost
like
weight.
15 pounds lighter without
Yeah.
the haircut and the beard.
He's been doing that trick for 10 years.
Yeah. And it keeps working and keeps fooling. Jason McIntyre, who helped as always with this week's
Now,
dossier.
Jason McIntyre, who keeps getting bigger because he's hitting the gym like
Ronnie.
Jersey Shore.
He's on the Ron
Yeah,
Ron
he's
juice.
on Xenadrin like
Yeah, yeah,
Ron
yeah.
Ron.
Emily Goodwin, Josh Negrin, and everyone's new favorite intern, our man Adam. Again, thanks also to the fine folks at the Peter Pit. I'm going to drive it right into the ground because I can't get enough of the Peter Pit. I'm sorry. It makes me happy every goddamn time. And Gorham Brothers digging me the hat. Tune in next week where your Sugar Ray Leonard will be sitting here.
And again,
Cool.
I plan on challenging him to a fight.
And you will see Sugar knock Sammy out. And if that doesn't bring you in,
yeah, tune
who
in
doesn't want
just to see me get punched in the face.
more importantly, sitting in your own filth moments later.
Before I hit the floor.
Yeah.
Before I hit the ground.
Before your Keppel hits floor, you'll
Covered
be,
in filth.
You will be filled in pants. Absolutely. All right. And then Harry Shearer after that, and then Dana Gould, some of the brilliance behind The Simpsons, lo these many years, the great Dana Gould, and many more on the calendar there. Check them out. And that is, as always, how we do it here. Until next time, and as always, please, dear Christ, get out of my face.